Hello, my name is Joseph Christos Thrice. My birth name is Joe Stanley, and this is part 4 on a video series kind of exposing everything out there in the world, focusing obviously on the really negative stuff from mind control and subliminal messages and experimenting, and then like the other side of that where there's basically synthetic telepathy in our society to some degree, in hive mind technologies, and basically a synchronicity of people in the 3D and 4D world, which will take your mind and basically connect it to everything outside. And basically there are prisoners of that. There are people who are experimented on. I can only speculate on other people's perspective, but I can say, everything I've experienced and everything that's happened to my mind and my body and all the upgrades and modifications and being digitized, all that kind of stuff is real for me. And I know, based on reading other people's lyrics and seeing all the themes in movies, that they do go through some type of initiation and also hazing, where it's basically you find out what's in the culture, and that there's a collective consciousness of the past, present, and future kind of in what's going on. But also at the same time, we have a lot of toxic culture and a lot of people just kind of very angry, and that's kind of like a totality of everything that people are learning. And also, like I said, probably with people knowing that this telepathy kind of exists and this hive mind stuff, and some are for it, some are against it, obviously. Most of us probably have a lot of misery attached to it who do know about it. And then, like I said, it's, these people who take oaths to protect this or guard this kind of information. And what they're guarding is a lot of bad stuff, obviously a lot of beautiful stuff as well. As I've outlined, I'm trying to be as not negative as possible. But this is kind of going to go into the messages within the music. And I'm going to say a few things before that, and then I'm going to kind of go into how Hollywood is attached to, the mind control and the government and the secret societies and the whole telepathy thing. So I'm going to kind of run through what I think, most people kind of experience or whatever for their kind of ritual, because it's basically, like I said, you have signals coming in from your TV or the internet or what may have you. And so basically, you have signals going through your ear, signals going to your brain, and those are at different hertz as well. And then the human voice, and that's at about 3,000 hertz. So, I could get way more into that, but just like a basic thing, like, yes, people can put commands into your head, and this has probably been the case for the 80s, maybe the 40s or 50s, maybe way before, you know what I mean? Like I said, I can only speculate based on my research, and as I said before, I've kind of been used to analyze and be hyper focused and hypersensitive on this kind of information. So we'll kind of go into it from there. So I just want to kind of, I'm going to be kind of going all over the place, and this is kind of stuff that's written down, so kind of bear with me. But like I said before, with my personal experience as well as what happens to other people, sadly, and we're talking about thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, where their lives are seriously impacted, or they're tortured and killed, or they commit suicide or homicide, or once again, we have, 500 mass shootings of some sort. And if you better categorize, you have at least 100 of those every year in the US. And that's because of what's going on and all the horrible things that people are having to participate in or doing against their will, in addition to these oaths. So just to get, repeat that a little bit, basically, from my personal experience, I've had, what's kind of considered like a Jesus Christ ritual. And I'll just explain it real quick again. It's kind of like a second coming to the world, or a homecoming back to the world. And for mine, or a lot of people who get lost in the subliminal messages or whatnot, they get lost in wanting to not be part of this negative aspect in the world. And so they get pretty much like I had this Jesus Christ kind of revelation placed into my mind at 21. So, um, and then I had the loss of ability to have sex at 18, and I had, my personality, it felt like it was kind of just scooped out of my head. And like I said, like this was all groomed 10 years ahead of time. Um, and so, like, this started happening to me at 17, and the torture was introduced to me, or this process was introduced to me at 27. And I don't think I mentioned in the last one, but basically 17 is kind of like, you're not an adult yet, so it's kind of like this in between kind of place. And like I said, like with the purgatory concepts and all this part within the afterlife or whatever, with these rituals and how you're living as a dead person and kind of stuff like that. um so just kind of going into that for like what 17 means, and there's a lot of songs with 17, and you could research them if you wanted to. And then like I said, with 27, you have Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, people like that, and they kind of made this kind of thing called the 27 Club, which nothing's really kind of real until people make it real. And so I just want to point that out, and then point out like people create these ideas so that there can be this kind of like darkness to the world or whatever, but it's connected to something that really does happen. So whether they're 27 or any other age, these people are, like I said, like kind of martyred off, and it's usually the ones who are the best, end up suffering the most. And I'm no exception to that. Um, but so in addition to like that, there's like lots of stuff about like X, and I think the movie's Rounders. But basically, like there's a scene in it where it says like "Don't touch X." And this is basically like a subliminal kind of cue, and it kind of lets the person who's exiled or is an ex, know. And it's also kind of like a trope, you know what I mean? So whether that's, X marks the spot for gold, or you're exiled, or X equals 10 years, or solve for X, you know, all those things are taken into consideration. And like I said, it gets really crazy if you're tortured, and the more you're jacked into the system, um, the worse it gets. And so, like, you pretty much know every meaning of everything, and they kind of switch it in and out in your head and in your ears and when you're talking and all this kind of stuff. But so we have the Jesus Christ kind of part ritual of it, which affects some more than others. But like I said, they still kind of, if it's like part of your lexicon, and it's part of something that helps you find beauty and inspiration, then it will be part of it. But if not, it's just, probably not mentioned as much. But of course, like I said, with these occult rituals, you can go to the Masons. Um, they have a lot of symbology with Jesus Christ, and they have the number 33. So it's like, it's not just a Christianity thing or Abrahamic thing. It goes into these things if your mind or your personality kind of cater to that. So anyway, you have like the Jesus Christ part of these rituals. You have basically like scapegoat rituals and martyr rituals, and this is where a lot of people are kind of put into like the bad part of their purgatory, and it's like they're kind of geared to like try to be killed off, or like I said, be part of these people that are suicided or homicided. And like they're kind of put in like this game, so to speak, and everyone's kind of living in the game because of how they have to live and how they're living with this kind of knowledge and telepathy and all that. But I mean, these people's lives are literally turned into a game, such as myself. um, so just throwing that out there. And like I said, there's another aspect to this, just to reiterate, like where people are doing initiation or haze. And like I said, a lot of these things are in Hollywood and music. And so that you can see that you're not alone and you're part of something. But also at the same time, like if you're very isolated, or you're, clinging to the darkness more, really affects you. And like I said, if you're a good person and you see all these awful things and people kind of just batting an eye at it and stuff, like it's going to affect you. It affects everyone, but most people live in denial, and they're trying to get to that next spot. And like I said, most people already have a life when this happens. If you don't have a life, or you're down on your luck, or you're depressed, or you have mental illness, these things are awful. And as I said, if you have mental illness, you can see different parts of the world in a different way with your subconscious and your consciousness. And the government knows that. And if they spy on someone and they see, oh, they're a good candidate for doing this kind of stuff with mental illness in mind, that's how they do it. So lastly, to like the Jesus Christ thing and the scapegoat ritual part of this, that's not part of hazing, or it's more to the dark side of stuff. You have kind of like the concept of the Virgin, and obviously what goes with that is the Virgin Mary. And so I just want to say, like, that's pretty much one and the same thing. Like, if you see in music or in movies, like, someone's named Mary or Maria or something like that, or they're talking about virgins or stuff like that, there's like the cherry thing. So there's a lot of concepts that go along with that, but it's basically like purity, pure souls, and like I said, like, it attacks the people who are the best. And so they want to kind of do a testing or a time trial of testing that person to see how good are they, how pure are they, because if you fight against this, to say, oh, you want to be put up on a pedestal, we'll fucking do that. So, and excuse my language, I try not to swear too much in these. But like I said, so there's a beautiful side to this stuff. There's kind of more of a mundane, or just a good side. There's a bad side to this, and then there's a pure evil side to this. And these it's basically the normal way we can see stuff, and then basically there's a subconscious, subliminal, and hidden layer of it, and that's to the language, the culture, our history, all this kind of stuff. And to kind of get into, like I said, like, people like me who are used as like sources or source code, who can analyze stuff on a subliminal level, they're obviously made targets way more. And it's my thought, and it's been my experience, that people kind of like do pretty much gambling. I'll say it, for what it is, plainly, gambling with your life, and gambling on aspect. They spy on you on cameras, or we'll get into the other part of that. But basically, they turn your life into a blood sport, and it really is kind of like the Hunger Games, and that's where like movies like that, become real. And if you know about it, you know about it, and then you're like, oh, well, that's kind of based on real life. So, you wonder who these game makers are, and people who create the Matrix and all that kind of stuff. That's how that goes. So, beyond that, there's kind of, like I said before in the last video, there's kind of like sex magic kind of dynamic, and how, like, if you read thoughts and stuff like that, there's very kind of like a sexual connotation to it, where you're kind of like busting balls, or kind of messing with each other, which would be like fucking with each other. And then, like I said, like, if you can hear people's thoughts, or you can feel their vibe, and someone's like attracted to you, that's something you can feel, which then goes in, like I said, to the sexual culture more and more, and like why we've kind of been demoralized over time. But I did go into that in the last video. And then there's, like I said, like, basically, you have these people, like I said, it's a dog eat dog world. So to go into that a little bit further, it's basically, people are, trained to use the light within their third eye, and that's kind of digitized, or set up with electricity, or any type sort of energy. And then basically you can use that to heal, you can use that to regenerate, you can use it to block out thoughts, you can use it for a number of things. And I know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you're part of this but you're not like fully onto that because you haven't had to do that kind of thing, it's something that it can be specified more. And so, like, you might be only experiencing it on a subconscious level, only have to do stuff because you only programmed like a little bit, where I was programmed on a highly detailed level on both the conscious and subconscious level, and kind of manipulated, tortured over and over. Like I said, I've had like lobotomies. I've woken up with different incisions in me. I've had, especially recently, I've had like laser attacks where they literally have frozen my body. and cut it with lasers and cut chunks out of my body, which you know what I mean? That's what the kind of stuff we deal with, where people have, you know, they run hot or run cold with their body temperature, and then you go through this process, and there's like so many other things that you're gaining new senses and all that kind of stuff. So that's a big part of that, you know. Like I said, like if you're living in this 4D world or you're evolving to this digital version, you really get a feel for like there's like multiple versions of each senses, and then there's like how your thoughts react with those senses, and yeah, it gets into a lot of stuff. That'll be in the last part of this series. um, but so, you know, just to get into a little more of the specifics, as I said in other videos, um, whether it's AI, the technology, the programming, or people having power of the mind to do these things. It is my belief that people who have been targeting me, or who are part of this system, who kind of keep watch and do self-policing, they very well can have a camera in their eye. And I know people can see out of my eyes as a camera. And like this, like I said in the previous video, it goes back to this experiment kind of where they put cameras into cats' eyes. And so with that, you know, it was turned, they could put it onto a screen, and then as we evolved with, you know, like high definition and all that kind of stuff, you know, all the quality got better. And like I said, they use these research clinical trials now, and it's been going on so long. So like if you see a new one talking about stuff with animals, you can know that it's being done on human beings. And it probably, like I said, goes back to the origin, excuse me, the origin of the military industrial complex in 1947 or the 80s, which, as I said, like they usually have layered information. So you think, oh, we did, you know, the 80s was time for technology. Well, there's a subconscious layer to that, and understanding other things that were happening behind closed doors or by the powers that be, and all these people who are part of these hive minds, or like I said, like these secret societies or these oath keepers or anything like that, you know. So yeah, they can see out of my eyes, which, like I said, goes into the blood sport. If you can see what someone's doing and you're putting words or commands into their head, it's kind of like people can play you like a video game. And also, you know, from my experience, I've had my own kind of version of that, which I'll get into at the end of this, with like the television movie programming and stuff on the internet, you know, pretty much anything you see on a screen. Um, let's see. Um, but yeah, so just want to kind of go over like we play off of each other's vibrations, and we do that, like, you know, like I said, on a normal layer, and then basically there's like the layer with the subconscious and the synthetic telepathy and this hive mind, and it's kind of like a melding of all you know, mind, body, and soul of everyone. So like that's why I'm saying since 2012, 2016, stuff has been so crazy, because so many more people have become attached to this, or in the know, or aware of it to some degree. And like I said, just because you're aware of it doesn't mean you know all the nuances that someone like myself knows. And obviously, I'm not, I don't know everything. And so I go on this, you know, my life has been like, you know, sometimes I feel superior on some levels, and sometimes I feel way inferior. You know, like I said, because I've been isolated, so I don't know really what the reality of it is. I just know that a lot of these things are possible, and because, you know, my whole town has been kind of turned into a psyop, and I've seen the self-policing, you know, I've gained more perspective over time, but you can only see so much, right? um just kind of looking over some stuff. So yeah, just to get into with the rituals a little bit. It's basically like you have this stuff in Hollywood going on, and everyone wants to think, you know, the Hollywood is controlled by liberals, and like the mainstream is controlled by liberals, and a lot of liberals know this, and they will gaslight someone and say, no, that's not true, when a lot of them do already know, and they're trying to get other people who don't know that that's how it is. And we'll go basically into that, but it's kind of, you know, like they have this culture cultural shift kind of with like the red pill, which is like a Matrix reference. And it's kind of like that's what you see when you see how stuff isn't controlled by the liberal mindset or the mainstream. And that's kind of what I saw, like I said, like you just saw like there was this old fashioned kind of way of living and like what this country used to mean with its foundation, and how people, used to, wave the flag for a different reason, and now they have different kind of things going on. So a lot of that culture has been replaced, and pretty much since like the inception of like subliminal messages in the 50s or Hollywood, it's always, like they had the family values thing, and so like there's always been that kind of loose connection between like the Republican mindset, you want to call it. But I mean, once you like, if you ever go look into Republicans mindset, you'll see that it's very different from the liberal stuff, and you'll be like, there's nothing in that. There's no public service and announcements kind of like saying, oh, like these kind of cultures matter. It's kind of like the Republicans are, this kind of thing, and you never really hear about it. And as I said, with like how you can see how and who controls stuff, you never see any positive stuff with Republicans. And like I said, I don't really have any political affiliation. I don't really do that. As I said, like this kind of hive mind thing kind of has played games, and it kind of makes people go either left or right, red or blue. And then, like I said, like there's like people who are purple, I guess you could say, and then purple's also royalty, but it kind of like plays ping pong with your head and ping pong with you in the culture. And that's another aspect of these rituals, and it's definitely a part of my personal ritual. So that it has really been a main cause of my suffering, because you see all these, pretty much everyone by default is kind of fascist now, and no one wants to call it out. And as we heard, like from 2016 on, which, like I said, I haven't been really knowing what's going on with the culture the past 5 years, but they had that whole thing where pretty much anyone who didn't go with the new wave of stuff that the liberals were teaching with the race ideology and theories, and the LGBT and all that, it's like if you didn't think like them, you were a racist or a xenophobe or any of that thing. And people were like blatantly calling Republicans Nazis, which obviously, like I said, they're both fascist. And there's like some people who were like straight up say they're fascists, and you're like, that's kind of messed up, and so like some of them were coming out of the darkness and being like proud of what they were saying, and then other people were just after a while kind of, people have been messing with and treating Republicans with disrespect 50 years. So like it's this cultural shift as another update, if you will, to society's kind of happening. So I'm not gonna keep going into that. I'll wait till like I get into the rest of this information with television movie tropes and how they program you. But yeah, so these are two album covers that I chose to kind of represent what's kind of going on with some of the art. And now we got to focus. The one on, well, this one right here is Our Last Night, and you can't really see it. There's pretty much like a bunch of darkness in the background, and then there's a guy in a bubble with a bunch of, loving and light in the dawn of day with an X on their head. Like I said, going back to the whole X thing. And basically, it was black and white. Sorry to say, I didn't have color printer, and like I said, I got to do everything kind of without digital means as much. But basically, so like these people are, who are caught in the light. Like I said, it affects good people, and so like they're kind of made as crash dummies, which goes into, like I said, the psychic driving and controlling what people can see and do and think, and even their motion and moving their body. And then, like I said, on the other side, you have this guy who has his head cut off, where it kind of goes back to the trope of off with their head. And that's, like I said, going back into like the dead kind of thing. And so like when you're dead, you can't really think. So it's like you have no head, or you're dead inside, like that kind of stuff. But like this is like actual artwork, and that's from Mars Volta. And if it had color, you would see that it's a gold head. So it's gold head with light coming out. So that's pretty much showing two examples of people who are kind of ritualized, and you know, I could go into art and artwork, both modern and before, you know, the digital age, and when less people knew about these secret societies and all that. But I thought those were important because it shows kind of like the two aspects or two different concepts, you know, where there's multiple concepts to it, where people are really kind of brought to the ringer, and you know, the guy's head was on a plate. So it's like it goes into that kind of cannibalization of people using people's light, and kind of ripping them apart like zombies. Like I said, like you never think about how like people like eat brains and stuff, and you know, there's a context for that in the real world, and they're talking about stuff just as they've always had talking about monsters and stuff like that. Um, so, um, like I said, bear with me as far as like some of these concepts, but like I said, I just want to say, like, before I do this, like, I have no, as I've said multiple times in these videos, because I'm trying to, you know, not come off like, you know, I know I have been programmed, like I said, to analyze and become source code and be hypersensitive stuff and pick up. You know, it's not like other people don't know this, but you know, I've seen and researched so much. You know, like I said, it's like you dig your own grave, and that's what people have said to me. Where it's like, oh, you got to know all this knowledge. It's not good enough to, you know, you got to know everything. And so then people are like, you can't even live your life, and that's, you know, part of the reason why you become a scapegoat again, is with that stuff. But so I'm just saying, I'm not infallible. Some of the concepts I'm explaining or some of my viewpoints or perspective may be a little off, but I think most of these ones that I've chosen, kind of like I said, connect to my last video of the tropes and themes in subliminal language, connecting to a modern version of the Twilight language, which is basically just kind of saying like language has like a subconscious version or subconscious meaning that's very intended. Like I said, like you know, I can say that the things they're talking about are very intended, but they're going to come across as just art, you know what I mean? And this is how people make art. And sadly, a lot of the darkness and the torture is made into art. You know, like I said, I listen to hardcore and metal, so I've seen a lot of that. But so yeah, I just want to say that before I get into this kind of stuff. So, um, you know, as we know, John Lennon, you know, he was shot dead, and he was shot dead by a fan who, just like on the outskirts of it, like they said he was fake, right? So that's someone, once again, who, you know, I've seen interviews with him, and like I said, he would probably never admit it or whatnot, because then it puts him in a state where he would get targeted more. And of course, you know, he went to jail and all that kind of stuff, so he's got that notoriety from killing John Lennon, who was a peace leader, who was a beautiful person, but obviously had their own demons in the closet, skeletons in the closet, whatever you want to call it. But so I'm going to go over some of the Beatles lyrics and kind of explain maybe how we got to that point. And also, it's going to, you know, I think is a good kicker to kind of show, you know, the Beatles, the biggest band in the world. Then you have Elvis, like the king, but you know what I mean? The Beatles were a huge cultural sensation, and they were icons, you know, still loved and known today. And so I'm not trying, like I said, I'm not trying to tear anyone out, or you'll be like, oh, you're calling out everyone and now people are going to be yelling at it. It's like, these are the things that people know. This is why when people get into like the telepathic kind of stuff and the hive mind, and they see all this stuff and then they're told to just shut their mouth about it. That's why there's so much anger and resentment and hostility and misdirected hostility. So, you know, I just want to say that as well. So like the first, you know, I'm going to be reading lyrics, so it's kind of going to be like, I'm just going to be reading them, and, you know, that is what it is, and then I'll kind of explain certain parts of it. So, first Beatles song I have on here is Nowhere Man, and so I'll just go over the lyrics real quick. He's a real nowhere man, sitting in his nowhere land, making all his nowhere plans for nobody. And basically, yeah, I'll read a little bit more of it, I guess. Like I said, I didn't know how I was going to really read these, or which ones, how much of the lyrics I was going to read. Doesn't have a point of view, knows not where he's going to. Isn't he a bit like you and me? Nowhere man, please listen. You don't know what you're missing. Nowhere man, the world is at your command. He's as blind as can be, just sees what he wants to see. Nowhere man, can you see me at all? And this is basically, like I said, someone like myself, and I'll probably get emotional during these because it's tough. Um, but it's pretty much, you know, a lot of people have called me blind, or a lot of people are blind on certain subjects, but in this certain nature, it's like, can't you see how many people um, are hurt in who know this information, and you know, basically like that we're just like each other. And I'm sitting here trying to make all these kind of plans on how to make the world better, and they kind of accepted it, which, like I said, there's a great kind of vibration with that, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, are you gonna literally sit there and let there be kind of a Nazi surveillance state in the self-policing community, that if you don't know what's going on, and if you get stuck in the culture and you don't have a job or stuff like that, that you're gonna watch people be tortured and killed and ritualized? And so that's the part that I kind of always have to back, because all these kind of beautiful lyrics, they're never really talking about that. But basically, like I said, like a lot of these songs are going to be talking about people like me, or people who, you know, they're beautiful but they're lost, you know what I mean? And like I said, not all who lost or wander. I would consider myself both someone who's been a little lost, and at the same time who's known what he's wanted from the get-go, and definitely since his torture. Because when I had like a forced kundalini awakening, and I was kind of like shown the light and all this stuff, it was really beautiful, and I wanted to stay there, you know. And this ritual made it so that people and technology and forces in this world were trying to knock me down. And you know, like I said, with the purity of the Virgin Mary or Jesus Christ, and saying all these things and wanting to be that, um, you know, a lot of people attack you and be like, "You really think you're that good?" and all that. And you know, I can only say I am who I am. So that's kind of where that goes. Um, So get into a little bit more Beatles lyrics. Um, they got the revolution of the number 9, and I'm gonna read these a little bit just to see. But yeah, basically like 9, and like the occult and spiritual and stuff. Like I didn't go into numbers too much because I don't want to get people crazy, but there's a lot of beautiful stuff with 9. It's like the sum of all angles, but it's also where, you know, you get all this information. Like I said, it's the sum of all angles. So with all the stuff that you have, the totality of all information, a lot of people get crazy and lost, like I said. So, um, but yeah, just kind of get into some of the dark occult stuff. I'm just going to read a couple lines here and there from the Revolution number 9. So it says, rogue doctors have brought this specimen. I have nobody's shortcuts. Aha. And like, this is some really, like, if you listen to the recording, they're pretty bizarre, and they're made to be that way. And like I said, this is Beatles, like the loving Beatles, right? So yeah, I'm just kind of reading over these, so bear with me. But yeah, like I said, I would say like read these if you're interested. Like the number 9, it's just like, you think it's gibberish, but it's gibberish through someone's perspective, trying to understand this, and kind of being goofy. And that's like a lot of this kind of culture. It's basically like running with the vibe that stuff's crazy, and like people kind of get like you know, the schizophrenic foundation where everything has different meanings. And they, like I said in the last video, they are deaf, you know, like Def Jam comedy or any of that kind of stuff. That's where I believe that kind of came from. So, um yeah, like these, basically Revolution number nine, it just kind of goes on with a bunch of stuff, and there's a lot of crazy kind of metaphors and stuff like that. But like, I would say it's like their interpretation of, just like a cheeky kind of way to talk about stuff, but not talking about it in a negative way, which is definitely, like I said, kind of like a problem with some of that stuff. So, as I know, oh yeah, it goes into Charles Manson, with the Helter Skelter. But yeah, so that's just like another song that has, that darker context to it. And like I said, there's going to be a little bit of silences as I'm trying to read these and saying, like, do I want to use this and this kind of stuff. Um, well, do you? Don't you want me to make you? I'm coming down fast, but don't let me break you. Tell me, tell me, tell me your answer. You may be a lover, but you ain't no dancer. Um, which, once again, it's like, can you dance to the beat? Are you dancing to the rhythm, where it's kind of like you got to be able to swim, with the current and go with the way things are, and at the same time, like, a lot of people don't want to do that, but that is how the world is. And I have been, personally very resistant to that kind of thing. But so yeah, I know that was connected to like, Charles Manson and some of that stuff. But like I said, it's like a lot of these Beatles lyrics kind of go into that. But like I said, I just thought that out of this song would be useful to use. This next one's While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Um, I look at you all, see the love there that's sleeping while my guitar gently weeps. I don't know why nobody told you how to unfold your love. I don't know how someone controlled you. They bought and sold you. And I think this is, a big part of this song. Like I said, like sometimes I just kind of tune in. And like I said, it's very much a tuning in and tune out. You can tune in to different vibes if they align with like your personality or how your vibration is or how your understanding or perspective is. So with this, it's like for me, it's like I could tell, basically, they were trying to speak to the people who were lost or whatnot, and they're like, I don't know why nobody told you about how the world really works, or this, subliminal stuff, or, how people really use people. They bought and sold you, talking about selling your soul. There's like the basic layer, to all this kind of stuff, and then the subliminal layer. So I'm just trying to, make the subliminal accented more and make people, understand it a little bit more. So. And I'm just picking out a couple songs. Like this one's I Am the Walrus. um like I said, the Beatles are like, excuse me, like you could be talking, about a lot of these kind of lyrics where like they're kind of crazy and stuff like that, or they're cheeky in the Beatles case. you know um I am he, as you are he, as you are me, and we are all together. Like, see how they run like pigs from a gun. See how they fly. I'm crying. I am the Eggman. They are the Eggman. I am the Walrus. Goo 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 goo. Like really cheeky kind of weird stuff. But like he is talking about something. There was some inspiration. And people, obviously many musicians have, interviews talking with them and that kind of stuff. And they'll talk about like the first layer, but they never go into like the subconscious thing. Like this could be your in your mind, you lay eggs, right? And then you plant seeds. It's like that same concept. So it's like I said, it's like it will talk about certain things, but not others. So like I said, like these musicians are all kind of keeping this secret, and people could say, musicians are cowards, and in some ways they definitely are. I'm a musician, by the way. But I would be talking more truthful, you know what I mean? And like I said, many people do, but they don't say like, the world is evil because of mind control, or that we're all part of mind control. They're all, keeping that secret at bay, keeping that knowledge at bay. And like I said, it's hard to know if everyone knows or a portion. But like I said, I'm trying to knock down that taboo so we can start talking about it the way I'm talking about it. Like I said, like it's gonna be kind of painful as I'm starting to go through it. Be like, oh, like this is what I gotta do for all the lyrics. But basically, I'm gonna run. You know, I had already cut them down because I had a bunch of lyrics. Um, but like this next one, Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. Um, and so once again, like right off the bat, it's like talking about all these people. They have lonely hearts because they, know the truth and they can't really let their love flourish. And we only have the music and the culture and the art to do so. Um, so I'm not going to really try and go into a bunch of these. I just want to like say certain songs and be like, hey, look at this from this perspective. I mean, they're saying, hey, Sergeant Pepper taught the band to play. They've been going in and out of style, but they're guaranteed to raise a smile. So that means, basically like they're going with like these updates to culture and like, basically in and out of style, like the trends. Like that's how, even before like the Matrix and everything went digital, like that's how culture and society was kind of groomed. And so it's like I said, like if you're not like having, if you're having original and organic thought, you're always gonna kind of not be put to the forefront. Whereas someone who goes with these trends and that, they've been going in and out of style kind of line, there's always things that teeter in between. So, there's people who are kind of sticking with what they knew and then kind of going in to the new stuff after. Well, others, they get lost in the shuffle, and then maybe if the gatekeepers are nice, they'll remember those bands or not. You know what I mean? So, so this next one kind of goes into, I'll just kind of read most of these, I guess. It would be Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, and The End, which is kind of like it's like a trilogy, I think. Once there was a way to get back homeward, once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Golden slumbers fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. So that's most of the first one. And like I said, it's talking about this get back home. Once you find out this information, you're trying to get back home. You're trying to have that feeling where you're like, oh, this is my home again. Like this makes sense because one of the themes that goes along with this is the whole world is backwards. Everything's backwards. There's no order. Everything's nonsensical, but it's supposed to be like that. And like I said, it's like trying to search for meaning in a world like that. And then once again, like these musicians, for how much they're trying to aid people, they don't come out and tell you like that kind of thing, and they sing you a lullaby, which kind of goes into like the baby trope, like that I said, that has been in culture and is definitely part of the programming kind of stuff, where you're sung, some of it's drunken lullabies, but it's basically like people are trying to make you feel like you're not alone and put you back to sleep, which is once again part of that programming thing. So like you can live consciously and still be happy and stuff like that. And like these songs can help you get through that. And that kind of goes right into Carry the Weight. It's like you got to carry the weight of the world and this knowledge and the truth. You know what I mean? So this one, boy, you're going to carry that weight a long time. Boy, you're going to carry that weight a long time. I never give you my pillow. I only send you my invitations. And in the middle of the celebrations, I break down. So other people, and this is kind of a concept. I don't think I brought it up in the kind of like concepts of stuff that I was talking about in the last video. But basically, life is a party, and I've been told myself as part of this torture, like I am the life of the party. And like I said, there's also this running trope with like birthdays where you're reborn or you're reborn every day. And with me, they keep kind of perfecting me and that kind of thing. And people know these kind of rituals are going down. So it's like, there's a cheeky part of it, and then there's like an evil part of it where like people saying happy birthday to pretty much torture you and be like, oh, you're gonna keep living this life in a loop, But when they talk about weight, that's what they're talking about. Like all the stuff that they know, all the stuff I know, all the stuff I'm going through that they keep secret. That's about this pure evil kind of stuff or these rituals. Um, so, like I said, I never give you my pillow. It's only sending invitations. It's like they're showing you like the world, and they're like, hey, we're not going to say like the full truth. And, some people don't get to rest easy in this world. But at the same time, like, there's always love and there's like a party going on, and you can always join it. And like I said, with me, it's hard when you try to join it and you're still getting, like some kind of resistance, and then you're unhappy or you're not sure, subconsciously what's going on. And then the end, that's the last one in this. Oh yeah, all right. Are you going to be in my dreams tonight? And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make, which I guess that's pretty standard to understand, like what he's talking about. But it's kind of like get what you give. And that's for me, like when I was, giving a lot and I was giving a lot of myself, it doesn't mean that I'm going to get anything in return. And so maybe sometimes I would think that I would, or other times it's like, hey, I'll do this. Now my life is not going to be in this loop. When meanwhile, my whole life could be, this loop that people are just kind of watching, which goes into people, like I said, kind of watching through my eyes or living my life. It's my life, but it's their movie. And that's, I don't know if this was the case when the Beatles were going on, but with all the technology and all this stuff going on where people can watch people or hear their thoughts or whatnot, you know what I mean? Kind of goes right into that kind of stuff. So like I said, I'm trying to show it from my perspective, their perspective, the cultural thing with the rituals, and kind of all the above. And like I said, so this last one kind of goes into what I was talking about, like dead people or whatnot. And the song, I think it might have been, I don't know, it said something about, actually, I don't know if this is a Beatles song, so might want to look that up if you're interested. But basically, the song's called "Turn Me On, Deadman," and Deadman. Yeah, so I'll just read a little bit. Penetrate all the simple minds they adore. What a bore, how they stand in line. Dilate, what's my drug of choice? It's okay when I pay, they say I got the voice. Look at the motherfucker as a millionaire. Realize it's a mask that you wear. Violate, such a simple plan. Turn me on, dead man. So yeah, I don't know if this was Beatles or not. But basically, yeah, so I don't know what it was, but it was basically a Beatles like B-side or something like that. And it was basically saying like really cryptically, like I said, some of the Beatles had some, cryptic, as I said, recordings. And on one of it was kind of like saying some weird stuff, like there's another one, I Buried Paul, which has the scripting thing, like I said, with the afterlife, excuse me, where you're burying somebody and they're kind of like dead. But they're also alive, obviously. So it's like part of this intended known language where you're alive, but like you've kind of been buried, like you know everything now, but you can't really say anything. You can't really mess with stuff in a way. So yeah, I don't remember who did this song, but it's another example of the whole "Turn Me On, Dead Man" thing. And one of the lines with this, it's kind of like, they stand in line. Like that could, like I said, be going back to like, we all have to wait to find out stuff or wait to go through this process. Or you're, on the front lines while you're doing this and you're kind of having to fight these battle with people to prove or earn your keep, and like, from my point is like, no one should have to do this. And so, like I said, like, because I was so like, I don't know, people would maybe see me like trying to think of the word, but yeah, like really really overzealous or something, like, oh, I don't need to do with that, no one should have to do that, so I'm going to stand up and be like, hey, I don't have to deal with that. And so like lots of these people, like when they're talking about your voice, like I said, about singing your song, And this is saying, oh, this motherfucker's a millionaire. Realize it's a mask that you wear. You know, like they can wear a mask and show some of their face, but they're always going to be wearing a mask. We're always going to be wearing a mask, which was, what I, was so angry about when, I started seeing lyrics and all this stuff in the culture. And it's also the taboo that I want to break down. I don't want people to wear masks. And if people are wearing masks when they're really butchers and torturers of innocent people and stuff like that, I think there's this part where like we're all kind of living this duality. But if we don't talk about it, we're not going to know who the real true evil people are. We're not going to know who the true monsters are. And like I said, a lot of people kind of, there's this song, it's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Like a lot of people are okay with it. And so anybody who isn't, they're kind of like, oh, you're rocking the boat. You don't belong. And, since we kill and torture people, we're just going to do that. And it's a systematic, awful thing that's connected to the government, and that shouldn't exist. And making people participate and, be a part of it and talk about it and sing about it, you know. And so like going into like your voice, like that's my voice, what I mean? It's like enough is enough. We live in this duality world, and that's fine. We can all accept it. We can go to the next place, where humanity needs to go. But at a certain point, you gotta like, bring all this subconscious or these subliminal messages or this other layer of intended language to the forefront and be like, yeah, this is the world we're living in, and it's not even close to the good, beautiful world we're trying to paint. And people, refer to this kind of like the weeds in the Garden of Eden, and we're trying to weed people like me out so they can keep everything all beautiful. And if we have chain stores on every corner, then we'll be just fine. And if every, other town looks, exactly the like, and we got parks and all these beautiful things, and we have beautiful cities, it must be a nice place, right? But it's only nice for some people, and a lot of people are in suffering. And like I said, if you have this kind of keeping people in check always, a lot of people are kind of, miserable. You know what I mean? I don't remember the exact experiment, but they had this experiment basically where they had normal people act as prisoners and act as guards, and the results were horrifying. Obviously, you know what I mean. People were abusing and corruptive, and that's what power always does. And like I said, within this society, these people will use the lyrics to torture you. And like I said, with the Beatles, the fact that they were really loving, but they had this cryptic side and then this cheeky side where they were talking about subliminal stuff. Um, I don't know, and I'm not like floating this out the world so it gets more like influence and people go after musicians or Hollywood celebrities. But it's like you do have to wonder how more people aren't going after these types of people. And it's like, are the people who are lost, do they never find out and they're kind of just so crazy and confused? And then they go to suicide because, a lot of them obviously don't want to kill people. I don't know. But yeah, I don't remember the name of that guy who killed John Lennon, but it's lyrics like that, and what I just explained for why he killed him. He was like, you're, having this message of love, but you also have this crazy cryptic stuff that makes people crazy. You recorded it in a cryptic way. So I just want to show the duality of the Beatles a little bit, and I think that's like a good starting point. So I'm trying to do this as best as I can. I don't want to be all negative, and I don't want to be all loving. And like I said, a lot of these lyrics, like this next one, yeah. So this next one is Cattle Decapitation. Pretty brutal metal band. Definitely heavier music. Dead Set on Suicide. Turning the other cheek, this never worked within this world. You'd be a meal in seconds. Cycles of life. Natural law. Now see this, Jesus Christ, a thorn in the side of right. No fight or flight. Anything else is simply suicidal. No love for enemies. I see their eyes, waiting there in the shadows. Extending hands will only be severed. You've condemned yourself to the gallows. Jesus Christ is suicide. Sighting the blind, sheltering the poor, blood into wine, but all is fair in blood and gore. I guess I'll read the last bit of this. Sensational, unanimous, we need a hero. Unguided, this chaos that makes humans what they are. How neutered, how secure, new drones to shovel the manure, keep the masses sedated, validating their tendencies for hatred. Jesus Christ is suicide. Um, so as you know, I said with the Jesus Christ stuff, like, um, this hits home for me, and I know anybody who is trying to fight the evil in the world, the evil part of this duality, and the systematic part of it, and the torture, and how, like, if you don't, if you're making too much noise, either with your thoughts or your voice or like the truth, in a world where everything's basically like, this is the truth, but we're not actually saying it, um, that makes people crazy. And like I said, with the Jesus Christ ritual, so many people have wrote these songs knowing that um, Jesus Christ is definitely like something that sticks out in Western society, and everyone gets meaning from it. But like I said, like they say, hey, we need a hero. Um, and anybody who wants to play the hero is going to get martyred pretty much. And kind of like, just to bring up those last band names I brought in the last video, you have band names: Protest the Hero, Betray the Martyr, Despised Icon. Um, and like I said, these are all different kind of takes on the same concept, like that's in the song. And like, Jesus Christ is suicide. I mean, that's pretty much saying, like, if you keep on living like this, you're going to die, or you're going to get tortured, or what, your life is going to be miserable, basically, or you're going to be ritualized, and that is what happened to me. I have, escaped death, too many times to account for. And I know I've put my life on the line to do stuff like that in this video, and trying to break lyrics to break down the taboo of these subliminal things. So you know what I mean. And I don't know. I'll go on to the next one, but basically, like I had said, maybe something about telephone and telepathy, and how that's not just a connection. That's one of these examples of the different ways you see and understand stuff once you get this kind of like subconscious understanding. So this is a song by Rancid called Maxwell Murder. Maxwell can't tell he's in hell. He just wants you to visit him there. Same old game that he's playing. His rules are never fair. Nobody wants to look back. Everybody want to be this. Everybody want to get high tonight before they run out of time. Where the felons the chargeable fell in the name of the crook committed the crime. Dial 999 if you really want the truth. Dial 999 if you can't see it through. He ain't Jack the Ripper. He's your ordinary crook calling Maxwell Murder for you. So I don't know, like a lot of people who have said, like, for me, like to me, it's basically like, this initiation of, hey, you can call people in your telephone, your telepathy. You can send messages to people's heads and vice versa. And then there's, like I said, the internet and these signals through the subliminal messages, and these psychic drivers who kind of help people, or these psychic drivers who torture you or use you for blood sport. But basically, like I know people have used me or called me, or called on me, invoked me or whatnot. For like these awful things, but also like they know that I've been catering to trying to find the truth. And that goes back to like the ancient stuff that I have knowledge on, the etymology, connecting it to the modern day, connecting it to these modern secret societies, the history and the culture, and who writes the winners, and basically like the intricacies of this world that obviously don't get talked about, because the gatekeepers, the powers that be, they don't want you to talk about that. So, I could be reading into, they want to call me up. But I'm pretty sure if you're part of this telepathic system, this hive mind, and you can like look in kind of like a window into someone's lives, you can see this stuff and you'd be like, hey, this guy tells the truth. If you want somebody who's going to tell it to you straight, he's, goes into like crook again, which basically it's like everyone's stealing information. They're thieves, thick as thieves. Because they want to give, take from the rich to give to the poor. They just want to take it because it has monetary kind of value behind it. And so if they sell information or they say something that's kind of part of a trend or whatnot, and they know the meaning behind it, it makes them look cool in the know, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, in that way, it's like I'm no different than anybody else. I have the same information everybody's got access to. So, real quick, there's a song that's a cover of a Hound Dog Taylor song, GA20. I just saw one line that was curious from the song, "Sitting at Home Alone," and trying to find the line. When the people start to look at you, hey, you're doing wrong. And basically, like I said, um, if you are brought into this like initiation, or you don't know what's going on, and people are kind of trying to tell you with subliminal messages but not actually tell you, and once like if you get through it, then you find out, or slowly over time. And I just thought that line was curious because it's basically like, if you're not, if you're thinking too much or too loud, or you're really angry and like people are talking about you in this, spy network, or, neighborhood watch, any kind of thing like that, leading all the way up to, government, you get tortured. And like I said, it's like, I don't know if everyone gets microwaved through these signals, or electrocuted, where you get the signal of the TV going through your head, and it kind of gets you high and baked and all this kind of stuff. So just kind of piggybacking off that, I thought that was a really telling line, what I mean? So then there's the Black Keys. The song's called "Burn the Damn Thing Down." Like I said, these are just songs that jumped out at me so that I could tell certain concepts that I saw and that I know exist in the world, and that only are a subliminal layer. So, this one is, and I love the Black Keys. A lot of these bands, like, I love these bands, what I mean? But so, we've been rolling, we keep on rolling, we've been driving day and night. If we make it to your town, we're gonna burn the damn thing down. We've been flat broke, busted, running on our borrowed time. The engine never rusted, 'cause we stay far down the line. So, this is basically like I said, with the staying down the line, or you're waiting in line or whatnot. If you're not, asking for the world to know the truth right away, you're gonna be like better off and not get tortured. And if you just live your life, you're not gonna get tortured, or not be kind of stick out and be made to be a victim of, or people be, if there's a lot of tension in the world, especially like I said with this telepathy kind of stuff, people are gonna blame you. Be like, if you didn't exist, or if you were dead, or if you just went with the way things are, then everybody would just be happier and they'd be able to go with the flow better, And sorry if I'm a disruptor in that way, or other people are, but you know what I mean. Like, I don't stay down the line. I'm right on the front line because I want things to change in this world. And the other line in this, if we make it to your town, we're gonna burn burn the damn thing down. And that's basically, like I said, like, I don't know what they mean, by when we get there, but it's basically like, this exists in some form or not, or another, in every town, and if somebody is getting initiated or tortured, like I said, I know like the government agencies and the military are involved with this. And like, I got people who literally moved in across the street from the ex-military, and they're doing all this technology stuff, and the neighbors next to me and all this other kind of stuff. They're poisoning me. They've poisoned me with hundreds of gases, hundreds of chemicals, done unspeakable things to me. And then you get jacked in through the cable, the jack through the matrix, and like I said, that can cook you, as in cook your body with microwaves, or it can just cook your head with the electricity in your body and connect it with the signal. And the more you don't go with the flow, the more you don't go with how things are, the worse it gets. And like I said, the more you get tortured, the more people in your own society treat you bad. Like I said, like, I have all these people who have spied and know like the intricacies of not only like my personality but my thoughts. And so, if you have people torturing you based on your thoughts or what you were doing earlier or what you believe in, and they're like going after that, and you're like, well, don't you believe in anything at all? Are you not inspired by like the music you see and that wants you to makes you want to do something in the world? And a lot of people, not so much, 80%, maybe 90% of the world, they're fine with just going to their job and doing all that stuff. But like I said, to me being a little different, a little special when I was younger and knowing it, whether you want to say it's like a neurodivergence, neurodivergence or something like that, where it's like as soon as I, was old enough to see the world, it was like, why are we following the economy? Why are we not working 150 days in a year? Why are we working 9 to 5? Why is everyone still living hand to mouth? Why is no one fighting the economy? Why is there monopolies on everything? Why does 5 companies of every industry control that whole industry? Why do 5 companies control all industries? And we say we have legal stuff that fights monopolies or all this kind of stuff. And there's some, like when they had the phone companies and stuff like that, you see sometimes they break down the monopolies, but generally they keep the gatekeepers who they are. And 5,000 years, still got taxes, still got an economy where, the rich are the 10% and the 1%, and everyone else kind of suffers. And everyone's like, don't you know that everyone suffers and doesn't want to get a job? It's like, I know that, but I want to fight against that. And so that's once again why you made to be a scapegoat. Because, like, there's always a couple, right, who don't do what they're told to. And as far as I'm told, it's like you're letting people who are rotten to the core rule your life, corrupt everybody, corrupt, a large part of the population with this participation in these psyops. And when it's something with like what I've been living, it's like you came to my, like I said, you burned it, we'll come to your town, we're going to burn it down, right? They came to my town. My neighborhood is burned to the ground. My town is burned to the ground. This is a fucking town where I grew up, and, I lived in the city for like 5 years, but I had to come back here because of my mental illness, and then I was stuck here after I got tortured, and it's like I want nothing more than to have a job, and to know that people are keeping me here to be tortured and to be killed, and they want to kill me, and they're taking pride in killing me and systematically being part of something with the government that tortures and kills, when they're too afraid to talk about mind control in the mainstream or what the real divides are, and this controlled opposition that seems to be this controlled everything. Like I said, like they have a good guy and a bad guy. Where the controlled opposition comes, the politics with the liberals and Republicans, and all this other stuff in between. It's not right. So going right into that, still scapegoat thing. There's a band called Nails, and this is basically called "You Will Never Be One of Us," and it says, "No truth, all lies, disgrace. We are not the same. Fuck your trends, fuck your friends, fuck your groupies that try to pretend that you're down. You're fucking not. Nobody wants what you fucking got. You will never be one of us. Our pain is not your pain. Our pride is not your pride. No truth, no trust. You will never be one of us. Soaked in disgust, you will never be one of us. This is not for you to claim. We are not the same." And my response to that is, knowledge is for everybody. I will claim whatever I want, and I will try and tell as many people the actual truth, and so that light can be brought back into this world, and so that all this divinity that people keep a secret, and all this other stuff that's clearly evil, and like I said, our pride is not your pride. That pride is connected to both the love and the evil that they keep secret. And you say you'll never be one of us. It's like that's all right with me. If that means I'm a lover and, I have a duality that is what I see the true potential of this world being, rather than accepting things the way they are, when I know that the power of the mind and the power of this knowledge is so that you can free other people, right? But like I said, this whole "you never will be one of us" thing is definitely the scapegoat thing. It's like, you are not the same. You're not one of us. It's like, is definitely a trope you see in metal and hardcore a lot, but it's also in rock and hip hop and all that stuff. Like I said, I don't listen to too much hip hop, so unfortunately not going to be too much on the list. But um, so piggybacking off that whole same concept is another band called Dayshell, says "Not Coming In." Um, Basically, just look around the silhouette of all of you getting older. Did you really think that you can speak like all of this is fucking fine? I want you to leave. I've heard it before, and you're not coming in. No, I've heard you before. Um, so yeah, that's like pretty much all that. I could explain some other stuff and kind of like put my own connotation to it, but like I said, it's like the same kind of thing where it's like we've heard this all before. Like you don't like the way things are, we all go with it. You're not swimming with the tide or whatever you call it. You're not swimming. Um, and it's like over time, as soon as I figured that out, I was still like, oh, I can swim, I can do what everyone else is doing, but I still want to break these taboos. And so with my personal life, to know that I still got tortured and was treated with this kind of stuff, and once again, people are, AI is part of the programming, and it gets more in tune to your personal specifications and all that, with the lexicon of words that you know and understand. But when you're, getting the same stuff in the world where it's like, you're not coming in, you're not one of us, you're not allowed, you don't have claim to this knowledge. We are the ones who are the keepers of this knowledge. And it's like everybody who knows this is the keepers. And as basic as I can say, if you seek truth, you are worthy of that information. And I know everyone agrees. And a lot of people shut their mouth about, people getting tortured and killed like myself for the hundreds of thousands and then the millions around this country that still live in this world, and they're punished in different ways. Like I said, like once you know this system exists, there's no way to know who's not getting tortured and just hiding it. They might have been acting up in the world or acting up at a certain job, or if they have higher status, they're kept in line with this torture or this kind of like gatekeeper thing where everyone starts treating you bad until you accept the reality that they want you to accept, or accept, like maybe you have an opinion on something and it's going against the grain with how people want to move forward with the next narrative within an industry, a culture, or whatever, part of our society. And once again, it's like maybe that person's right. You never know how many people have, if they fought or if they fought for what they believed in, how much better would this world be? And maybe the stuff I'm talking about would have been brought to light a long time ago. But everyone's kind of like, hey, everybody knows, so, you're the problem if you want to, make it not hit it, And once again, it's like all this divinity to it. They say, hey, you're up on your high horse. It's like, I want to free the light from everybody. I don't want this to be a burden for people. And I know, like, they're in a position where they have to, or they might have to pay with their life. And also where, like, these people will help kill people and keep it a secret for them, That's not great, you know what I mean? This next band is called Sikth, and that's Sikth. And the song's Wait for Something Wild. Sullen hours of the evening. Wait, I heard a bird. It's singing your song, even though you didn't have one. I'm just going to skip a little here and there. Are we speaking the same language? Miscommunication going round and round, spinning back around. I need to know how you feel. Why don't you come back with me tonight? Think I like you. Why did you come back with me tonight? Is this love or just infatuation for you? Let's see. Lights reflect the water. Winds blow quietly. The water doesn't care. It's dark and the lake is frozen. Wait for something wild. The trees are dead and dries out. Wait for something wild. Do we sail? Do we try to sail? And later in it, the lyrics, when I think of you, I get tired. I get tired. Can I let you in? Let you in? Can I really trust you? Don't know. I want to fly now, think to myself. And, you know, all these kind of things, like I said, it's like people are saying really beautiful things, but at the same time, if you're not going with the flow of things, if you're not going with the flow, and you're not showing your true love in knowing that you can't say what you really want to, because everyone can't say what they really want to. And it's like, I think we should be, you know, and I know everyone else feels the same. So it's like, I would fight for what I believed in, and I know other people believe in, just so that we can maybe one day bring that to the light. And that's, you know, all of it basically, you know, like I said, exposing all evil, conspiracy, and corruption, and you know, letting love have its place in the world, and kind of bringing back the balance to the order of things, you know. So in this, you know, light reflects the water, wind blows quietly. You know, this is kind of what I said with like stuff about the hurricane, the rain, lights being like the light, you know. The water doesn't care. Like I said, the water is a current, you know what I mean? And then in this, a line that spoke out to me: the trees are dead and dries out, which I think is the name of this album, by the band Sick. But the trees are dead and dries out, and it's basically, it goes back to that tree of life. And that's how I could possibly be seen, because of my, uh, I don't even know, I don't know what word to use for myself, because I don't really want to bolster myself up. But, you know, basically, if I am the tree of life and all these people would be the branches, learning from whatever I'm trying to teach, as I've been researching for literally 5 years. And like I said, the fact that I got tortured, you know, after being tortured for 5 years, I go to a hospital, and I'm in a hospital now getting microwaved and hit with these gases in a hospital. And then I go to a mental hospital and I get tortured by people in the hospital, and the staff in the same treatment. And ever since I was done with my research and ready to do everything I wanted to do, which, you know, this information, these truths, this video series is just a part of it. You know what I mean? So many things I want to do, you know, and I've had all the information for 3 years, and I've just been fighting to stay alive as people are trying to kill me every time I'm doing something, you know. From the beginning, they brainwashed me not to smoke cigarettes, and I kept smoking. And then, like I, you know, mentioned in other videos, I literally smoked poison cigarettes for 3 years. So, think about that. You know, I went to convenience stores, all in my town, all poison. All these people knew about it, were part of it. Go 45 minutes out, go an hour and a half out, you know, from where I live, still poison cigarettes. I mean, that's kind of saying something. You know, you could say, oh, these people really want to protect the truth or whatever. And it's like, well, there's that aspect of it. And then there's the aspect where you're literally torturing an innocent person with cigarettes just because, oh, we told you you're not allowed. That's part of your programming for some reason, and you're just supposed to go with that. And it's like, people who can't, like, I don't know, like, some people are just smokers, you know what I mean? And I'm pretty sure even like the best version of myself would smoke and would love to smoke. So the fact that I can't, you know what I mean? Same thing with weed and pot, you know. Obviously I had like addiction with pot, definitely, and definitely affected me in not a great way. And I kept smoking because, you know, self-medicating, right? So just that kind of going off track a little bit, but you get a little feel of everything as I'm reading these lyrics, right? But yeah, like I said, like, just to finish it up, it's like saying, can I let you in? Can I really trust you? I want to fly now, think to myself. And before that, they're saying, when I think of you, I get tired. Because what happens when you go, you know, through these tortures or the electricity or whatnot, your thoughts get ramped up. And the more they torture you psychologically, then you're just thinking about crazy stuff. So, like, the point is to make you spin round and round, kind of like that song, like a record gonna spin you right around. I don't remember who does that, but just came into my head. But that's what these people do. Like, they just kind of, you end up being a broken record and your own worst enemy. Yet, you know, for me, it's like, it was clear in my head, And so when I became, more assertive on the fact that I wasn't lost and all these forces trying to stop me, it's like, why am I stuck in this loop? You know, and I'm still stuck in this loop, and I'm still hoping I can be alive and live. And so I got to just hope that the forces be will hear me, hear my message, and know that, this is kind of what I felt I needed to have in the world. Um, so this next one's from System of the Down, and called Chop Suey. Um, Basically, I know the little fun fact about this song. It was originally supposed to be called Self-Righteous Suicide, which kind of goes back into all that stuff I'm talking about with the scapegoat and someone being self-righteous. And I I value people's opinions on that, and like I see that, uh, I'm validating their opinion and saying, like, I understand that you don't want me to mess with the vibration of things or the flow, or basically how the world is set up, and how, a lot of people are like, the world will, the apocalypse really will come. And it's like, well, I'm saying it's already happening. There's a bunch of people singing songs about it. So, can't we at least talk about it in the public? You know? Um, so, yeah, lots of this is, once again, like that kind of cheeky, kind of random stuff. You know what I mean? Who knows what it means, right? But the chorus or pre-chorus is, I don't think you trust in my self-righteous suicide. I cry when angels deserve to die. And, you know, this is, no, I won't read the rest of it. But yeah, the whole I cry when angels deserve to die. Um, for me, it's like, you could save every single angel. I mean, we live in a world of angels and demons, and you're going to let certain angels die because they're not going with the order of things, and they won't take their place or be subservient in any way, still wanting to serve the society, serve people to be better. But, you know, once it goes to the self-righteous suicide, it's like, if you're not going with stuff, it's like you might as well be considering yourself, committing suicide, because you're just going to get tortured until you die. And it goes into the whole Jesus Christ is suicide. And like I said, people like literally like rent you out like you're a car, you know what I mean? And they manipulate you psychologically, they torture you. They treat you like a pet, whether it's through the TV subliminal messages or in public, and they use the same ones that affect you on a psychological level. And they do this with everyone. Like I said, there's lots of people in the world where it's like, if they get out of line, then they go right back to that person's psychological, torture, and their lexicon of what affects them and ruins their life and gets them like a record spinning back around, spinning around and around. So it's the same kind of concept. And basically, I just wanted to make note, like I said, with that whole sink or swim, there's a song by Tool called Anema. And there's people who are anemic, right? And like one of the consequences from being tortured for a long time, that some of these people get anemic, or they'll have a brain aneurysm or something like that. Is that what they're talking about? I don't know. But in this song, basically that whole sink or swim. So if you go look at those lyrics, Tool Anema, they'll have kind of like that kind of vibe going on. And they were spiritual band in some ways, so I don't want to like kind of completely go after them. But yeah, these lyrics are kind of what it shows that people really are having pride in what they say, and really will try and be as vicious as possible. And this is, I guess I would say, a version of like people doing that. So this is from the band A Perfect Circle, same singer of Tool. The song's called The Outside. Help me if you can. It's just that this is not the way I'm wired. So could you please help me understand why you've given into all these reckless dark desires? You're lying to you're lying to yourself again, suicidal imbecile. Think about it. You're pounding on a fault line. Will it take to get through to you, precious? I'm over this. What do you want to throw it? Why do you want to throw it away like this? Such a mess. Why would I want to watch you? And as you can tell from my reaction, it's like, you know, there's so many, I know these people feel the same way as me, and they say, why do you want to throw it away like this to me? And I'm saying it to the world. Why would you want to accept so many dark, evil things in the world? And, you have people calling you a suicidal imbecile in their songs, and then, they're talking about certain people who won't go with the way things are. And like I said, like there's we go back to the term the wall, right? There's a wall of these people, and they're all kind of saying different things, and you know, they're all watching you, which goes into that surveillance state thing. And it's like there's so many wrong things with this picture, and it's like there's so many beautiful things in this world, and I just want to change a few of the bad things. And like I said, like I know people want to keep the darkness hidden, but I just can't. You know what I mean? And like I said, I hope I live. I hope I can do this and get through this, and then be allowed to live back in society, allowed to not be tortured. And this is the end of my war, and so I can finally start to give to people, more what the narrative is saying, and try to work with people to do that, whether it's politics, spiritual stuff, or all like the economy stuff. Like I was saying, I know I'm always gonna kind of be fighting against like evil stuff and stuff that people will never say. How much they're like things need to change, and yeah, we're always kind of like having this illusion of progress. But yeah, just to go a little further on that, more of the lyrics. Medicated drama queen, picture perfect, numb belligerence, narcissist drama queen, craving fame in all its decadence. So it just kind of gives you kind of like a window into how some people see you, and a lot of people, do have that kind of get rich or get rich or die trying, that kind of mentality, which goes with the hip hop stuff. I mean, what I can say about hip hop, it's like, why is it all about money, and why is it all about this kind of like hard shell that people keep up to be like tough, or whether it's like the hood dynamics, or like the street mentality, or just kind of like in life getting what you want, and kind of like goes back to that dog eat dog world, without the literal eating and cannibalization of people, or their psyche or their body. But yeah, so basically a lot of people think I'm like stirring the pot, or a drama queen, or I'm adding to the noise rather than adding beauty. And like I said, I think it takes someone like me to be like, you know what, I refuse that. I mean, you're allowed to have all these people put out their message, which is a unified front, but people like me, it's not a message that's seen as much. You know what I mean? And if people saw the other side and were like, hey, maybe we should be pushing the boundaries, maybe we should finally let the floodgates down on all this music, and be like, yeah, you know what I mean, like all these musicians are basically right beside this kind of fascist surveillance state that's clearly Nazi and Nazi-esque in every way. And it's not protecting people for the most part. It's keeping people, keeping safe the people that don't say anything, and so they get to maintain all these ideas of pride in their country and in our society, and how great it is. And we know what it's like in America with that, or if you don't, it's just like definitely a vibe of we're the best kind of thing, while also being assholes and stuff like that. It's not like Britain or other countries in Europe, or Russia, like that. They all have like this kind of pride and different stuff. And as we know, Like these people are eliminating people in the modern day for having low vibrations, or that's who they go after because, like I said, they're kind of negative. They stick out. They're louder. Um, as far as like their spirit, you know. So I'm definitely one of those people, though I do talk about light as well too. So people want to go after me for multiple reasons. Um, yeah, here's another a Perfect Circle song called Pet. It says, "Don't fret, precious, I'm here. Step away from the window. Go back to sleep. Lay your head down, child. I won't let the boogeyman come. Count the bodies like sheep to the rhythm of the war drums. Pay no mind to the rabble. Head down, go to sleep to the rhythm of the war drums. Just stay with me, safe and ignorant. Go back to sleep. Pay no mind what other voices say. They don't care about you like I do. Safe from pain and truth and choice and other poison devils. See, they don't give a fuck about you like I do." So I mean, um, there is, like I said, that deep feeling of wanting to keep people safe and keeping people safe from all the evil people that have more of a vicious mind, who do know how to cover their tracks, who do know how to have low vibrations and be negative. Um, and I want to keep people safe as well, but I want to do it with the truth and with this layer of love and be like, hey, no matter how evil something is, the love, undiluted love, nothing can beat that. And with the politics, it does get pretty crazy because people are like, this is what love means and blah blah blah. It's like love is fighting for everyone and understanding everyone. So like I said, it's more about the undiluted love. So it gets a little lost in politics and how we don't have a self-evident truth because of all the programming and propaganda. And that's what I want to get into the world so we can get a better world faster. And then there are other people who are like, hey, this is how it is. We want to keep people safe, and what you're doing to us seems unsafe. Once again, all these people know that they've kind of been programmed like that. But, they're not wrong about their perspective on it. You know what I mean? But neither am I. So that's what I'm saying. I'm just sticking up for my perspective and the voice that many of these people probably have, and they don't get to speak. You know what I mean? And one last one by A Perfect Circle, "Weak and Powerless." Tilling my own grave to keep me level, jam another dragon down the hole, digging to the rhythm and the echo of a solitary siren, one that pushes me along and leaves me so desperate and ravenous, so weak and powerless over you. Little angel, go away, come again some other day. The devil has my ear today. I'll never hear a word you say. He promised I would find a little solace and some peace of mind, whatever, just as long as I don't feel so desperate and ravenous over you. So basically, once again, it's the kind of same thing where it's like people go through this hell and they're promised just a little bit of peace of mind after they go through all these trials, and they're trying to keep people safe, and then they're also trying to kill and torture people that they think might threaten that. Where it is, because they say that term "they" or whatnot, the powers that be, how does that trickle down? Well, I'm telling you, it's in the music, and I can only give you so much of the story, but the other part is, how is the music connected to something like Neighborhood Watch or these secret societies that have influence within the towns. I mean, all these towns have the families that have they do the maintenance on the houses and stuff like that, and it's like, these are the people who have been let into my house and put poison gas or do whatever through my vents. You know what I mean? People came into my house and did that. You know what I mean? That's pure evil stuff. And it all could be told, just coming to me and having a 5-minute conversation. Or if there was all these government things going on, then it could just take some government car comes, picks me up, says, hey, this is how it is, gotta do this, or else your life is going to be in danger. And that never happened. And then again, like I said, you got NASA with the space exploration, whether it's the 3D, 4D thing, or just all this levels of control from that all the way down to the government agencies. and that also in these hospitals, all that stuff connected, they want to have guinea pigs, they want to have science trials. So, um, that's what I fight against. I don't want people, whether it's me or tortured people or experiments, or the public at large. Um, with how much stuff is kept secret, it's like you never know how many people are exposed to different things, and then what other natural medications and stuff like that is to cover up the fact that, hey, more stuff has been in the environment and we live. You go to like a company like Monsanto, it's like all this, they've poisoned all of the ground. You know what I mean? And so like we live in a world where like you gotta literally have these new modified different things that can be planted in the ground to go in the ground where poison is what's prevalent. You know what I mean? And just to bring up like what I've said like in the past, as crazy it is, as a mess with physics, or just how the people on the grid keep control over just any one person. These people, anywhere there's pipes, and there's like piping even in the woods, or when you go camping on campsites or national forests or parks, there's still piping under a lot of that. And the fact that someone like me, if it put in a certain situation, excuse me, um, they can be literally poisoned anywhere they go in any building. And I've been poisoned and microwaved in pharmacies. I've been same in restaurants, in supermarkets, pretty much everywhere. You know what I mean? Um, so that's the brute force that I'm against, the brute force that I fight against. It's that kind of stuff. So once again, one last one by a perfect circle, I guess. I'll say the song. It's called "Eat the Elephant." So without really even talking about anything, because it really doesn't get into specifics. But it's just saying like the elephant can be either like the Republican side of stuff, or it could be, a spiritual thing. And it's like I think most people see it as like the elephant in the room, right? So I'm the one who's saying all this stuff, and everyone won't say anything as they do with the elephant in the room, but everyone's talking about it. Wouldn't it be better if we lived in a world where everyone could just talk about it and be like, hey, this is what's going on, and then there would be no more elephants in the room. Everyone would be getting together, and it would be, the actual vibe and frequency, everyone tuned into each other and accepting everything while still cross-pollinating. All these cultures and concepts, like all the secret societies have had us do, with this collective consciousness for how long? And like I said, it's dying more and more in the mainstream, and this whole dark arts and this kind of satanic, kind of negative way of looking at the world, while at the same time being like positive vibes only. Um, you know, it's definitely hypocritical. And when you're talking about like pure evil like that, yeah, it's crazy. So just another song called The Elephant's Graveyard by the Boomtown Rats, which is a little bit older of a song. Let's see if there's anything here that I want to really point out. Did you slip the noose when the beast broke loose? The elephant's graveyard ain't the place to be. And white turns back black, dies of heart attack. The elephant's graveyard needs the change of scene. So, let's see. They were guilty till proven guilty. And so, like I said, justice isn't blind, it just looks the other way. Not from want of trying, I have nothing left to say. Shame, shame, shimmy, shame. So this was like an older song, and it still has that kind of thing where it's like this underlying subconscious message that's pretty much telling anyone like me, get in line, or else you're gonna be on the chopping block. You know what I mean? And all I'm saying is I'm just trying to fight to show that this is what's going on. And all these musicians, if you knew what they were saying and how they were pretty much talking about killing people, or hey, if you don't do this, you're gonna get killed. I mean, the song, they were guilty till proven guilty. And these are people who get killed. And another line I'm seeing in this, it's Disneyland under martial law. Titch on the TV, tell me what you saw. I mean, for lack of a better words, we are kind of living in a martial state, and the law is this martial law. And you know what I mean? uh, I can't support it, and I can't support other people at least not trying to fight against it. And I'm not gonna say it over and over in this video. It's just, this is what I feel I gotta fight against, and I don't think anyone's if you just keep saying it, maybe someone will hear you. And I hope this whole message, and with these lyrics, I know it's kind of getting hard. I'm at an hour and 39 minutes, so I can tell. So um, you know um, this is definitely going to go into like another part, or I'm going to try and get through these quickly, because it does get a little redundant. But it's like, you know um, I'm just going to keep going, and basically, like, hopefully people get something out of my testimony alongside with these lyrics, and seeing both dynamics, and seeing someone actually talk about what people are talking in lyrics, so people can be like, oh, that is what that means, or stuff like that. You know what I mean? And of course, there's people that don't know. Maybe, I don't know because of my perspective, but if you don't know and you don't read into lyrics, or you don't have, you weren't programmed to this subconscious of a level, now you know. And I'm not trying to make anyone crazy or schizophrenic with a foundation of words and all this kind of stuff, but it's like, just know that a lot of people in the mainstream of music are writing lyrics kind of shunning people, and pretty much a really hardcore kind of like, hey, we will torture and you kill you. And I've lived that, and I want that to stop. You know what I mean? I mean, why have this message and throw it in everyone's face? It's like that whole I have my cake and can eat it too thing. And I mean, we should take care of everyone. So um, I don't know how much I'm gonna do from this. But basically, this next band is Thrice. So this first song is In This Storm. And just say a couple lines from it, I guess. How can anybody see? How can anybody see where the roads lead? How can anybody see? How can anybody see through this storm? How can we see? How can we see where the roads lead? How can we see? How can we see through this storm? And once again, I said, I think they have another song called Hurricane too. But, whether it's the rain or the hurricane or the storm, like the whole concept I said in the last video. And I'll just add this line. He said, this weather is breaking my heart, this whirlwind of falling apart. And, I mean, it's this whole kind of synchronicity in knowing all this stuff and not being able to talk about it. And some people are suffering, and they're really sad or angry, but still they're not living, the life they should be or could be, all this hope and promise that we could be living in. And we're kind of camouflaging our pain in these songs, even these beautiful writers and lyrics and musicians, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's just an example of that. Like I said, with the weather and stuff like that, when people talk about that. Here's one that's a little more specific. That's called The Earth Will Shake. We dream of ways to break these iron bars. We dream of ways to break these iron bars. We dream of black nights without moon or stars. We dream of tunnels and of sleeping guards. We dream of blackouts in the prison yard. And if you keep going with these lyrics in the song, I'm skipping over a little bit. We dream of jailers throwing down their arms. We dream of open gates and no alarms. Look to the day the earth will shake. These weathered walls will fall away. and, I, and this is what uh, this is what music does. This is what movies and TV do. This is what it should do when you're inspired. Obviously, I'm someone who's been tortured as well as someone who's like fairly sensitive, and obviously, these words, you know, um, they mean something to like everybody. If you know what like he's talking about, you don't want to be in this jail. You don't want to have tunnels and sleeping guards. You're hoping and dreaming of the day. We're not going to be prisoners. We're not going. You know, so like regardless of like if these people are keeping their oaths that they live by. We don't want to live with all these walls up, all these taboos, everyone literally controlling the narrative, and on top of that being basically prisoners. And when you step out of line, the whole society is there to stop you, and that's a pretty surefire way of making sure nothing really changes without the powers that be and the ruling class and these secret societies saying, oh, it's now going to be the time to do this or that. And then, like I said, just to have the truth be out there and what these musicians are really talking about. You know what I mean? So once again, still kind of going with Thrice. And sorry for the tears. Obviously, no one wants to watch someone cry when they're talking about or reading lyrics already, which is kind of like boring, whatever. But like I said, I hope anyone who's kind of like scanning through this gets something out of it. Let's see. I stand on, this one's called Daedalus. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I stand on the cliffs with my son next to me. This island, our prison, our home. And every day we look out at sea. This place is all he's ever known. But I've got a plan and some wax and some string, some feathers I stole from the birds. We leap from the cliff and we hear the wind. I sing a song that's too perfect for words. So, a lot of people, the song that I sing or the song that people sing, people know it's, and once again, it says I stole from the birds, some feathers I stole from the birds. Talking about the caged bird or the language of the birds, or that the birds are carrying the messages, and that's a real beautiful thing. And then so you add that into the kind of the vibrations that I'm trying to bring into the world, and people are like, well, we know how the world is, we can't do that, but boy, wouldn't it be nice, if we couldn't be prisoners. So yeah, let's see. So yeah, I think Thrice is a really beautiful band. You can definitely see the changes that the singer and lyricist of the band have gone through and like matured. Because a lot of their earlier stuff, it was kind of like kind of that darker side, and then they had this stuff in the middle, and then they got more beautiful, and we're just writing with love in their heart. They're a great band. I love them. And it's like, so you hear a song. This song's called "Hold Up a Light," late. Hold up a light, steady and bright, cut like a knife through the cold and dark. These eager flames can't be contained. Cities are claimed by the smallest spark. It's raining and I know we're tired, but try to raise your lamps a little higher up. So once again, it's like everyone is united to like protect and do these vile things, but this is a message. You got to hold up a light and keep the world beautiful, and that will fight the darkness and the cold and these storms and the rain. And it's definitely like a nuanced understanding and something that you got to feel and live and see. And so, everyone's perspective is different, but yeah, um, a lot of songs, like a lot of pop songs, have that kind of thing, and a lot of pop songs have this thing called ghostwriters, and a lot of these ghostwriters know how to write this kind of stuff, which once again kind of goes into, sadly, even an evil aspect of like that kind of side of stuff, where like they're giving you a fake plastic version of like the lyrics I just said, so that way, like all these pop songs, they have like the same structure, they have the same type of lyrics and metaphors, they have even like the same formula, if you will, on how the songs are made, and that's literally like it's literally a formula. And at that point, is it art? And all these beautiful pop songs or whatever. It's like, these artists, they're not even really artists. They didn't write the songs. They had people produce for them. They wrote pretty much none of it. They record, and that's pretty much it. And then they go on tour, and they're kind of like a face. You know what I mean? Hold on a sec. I was gonna try and keep going without a tissue, but no way. Just kind of end with some race lyrics a little bit. Definitely check out the song "Beyond the Pines" if you're looking for like one of those like beautiful songs that gets like the love vibe really good. So then this next song is called "The Weight," and it kind of goes back into where we began with the Beatles. It's the weight of this burden, the weight of this, this secret, this promise, this oath, all that kind of stuff, and everything that comes with it. Like I said, all these nuanced, different things that I'm going about with it, all these different lyrics, It's not just like everybody who's like got pride or who wants to protect people and keep people safe, or like this, there's colors in everyone's message. Like I'm just showing you certain lyrics from certain bands to give you as much as like the different perspectives. Some of these bands might be doing the same thing. These people who are would be kind of like putting up like this kind of evil vibe with like pride and being like, if you're not with it, you're gonna die, you're not one of us. Like they still may have beautiful songs too. I'm not saying that, like I said, that duality of the in this world is always at work. So once again, this song by Thrice called "The Weight" um, taps into the same thing that Beatles song called "The Weight" does, talking about the same exact thing. 50, 75 years apart, same message, same stuff in this society. Um, there's many who'll tell you they'll give their love, but when they say give, they mean take. They hang around just like vultures till push comes to shove, and take flight when the earth starts to shake. Someone may say they'll always be true, then slip out the door before the dawn, but I won't leave you hanging on. Another may stay till they find someone new, then before you know it, they'll be gone, but I won't leave you hanging on. And before there's another line here. Some talk of destiny, others of fate, but soon they'll be saying goodbye, but I won't leave you high and dry. And I just want to say, like, before I get, because I know there's another song in here from like the Beatles of George Harrison, where he's talking about like keeping a cold, dry place. And it goes into this other band, metal band, Dry Kill Logic, and this whole high and dry thing. Well, when you get microwaved over and over and over, you get really dry. And like I said, with like the coldness and all this other stuff, like then you have to be cold, or your body temperature is going through these changes, are all like, millions of people go through this stuff. And I'm sure there's like a bunch of songs that address it in certain ways. But so, I'm not saying he is staying that high and dry, but I'm going to say that like that saying high and dry definitely could have some connotations with that. And then there's this other line that is basically like, another may stay till they find someone new, then before you know it, they'll be gone. These people, like I said, are attacking people until they get into the mainstream of stuff, or they know how to act. God forbid you don't act right in this world, and then there's all this other stuff that you don't know going on, and you have to be responsible of it. While these people who stand guard, they don't tell you. Once again, if everyone was known, or everyone knew, or could talk about it rather. Like I said, I don't know if people, they have a midlife crisis, they are grown and raised this way, or they find out when they're 18, or whenever you find out. I'm going to say most people find out when they're getting to be an adult or in their 20s or 30s. You know what I mean? It's hard to say. But I'm saying, regardless of when people should all know it, you know? And all the nuances of love in the dark, so people don't get lost at all. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? So, like, I could read the rest of the lines in this, but, um, you know, vultures, once again, it's like you talk about birds, and then there's like other birds, like, crows and ravens. They have like a negative connotation sometimes, but they do guide and have a spiritual essence. And once again, that a lot of people talk that nuanced way. And then there's vultures, which they pick at your bones until you're dead. So just different metaphors for like saying the same kind of stuff. But yeah, there are people who are just waiting for blood money and doing all that kind of stuff. And shouldn't we be able to fight against them? This last Thrice song I'm going to go over, and I know there's a few, as many Thrice songs as Beatles songs. What you can do. This last one's called Double Speak. I drowned my heart with double speak. All my misgivings disappear. It helps to keep my conscience clean. The ends will justify the means. But still, I'm always careful what I hear. I don't want to know who really pulls the strings, just as long as it's not you or me. There's a jackboot toe tap keeping time while the children dance and play. Honey, if you think you've seen a crime, just look the other way. And I think that kind of gives another nuanced look that people are like, yeah, there's bad stuff, don't look into it. It's kind of like that thing where it says, if you look into the abyss long enough, or you look into evil long enough, it will stare back at you. And that is kind of exactly what happened with me, and it happens with a lot of people. And so, like, these people are trying to keep people safe, but there's other people who just need to know the truth, or, God forbid it's any of like the crazy conspiracy stuff, or like why are the politics what they are, or the economy, and you're just like, why? And people who ask why shouldn't have to die. They should be able to be given enough information where it's like, hey, now it's up to you whether you want to do what you want to do. And I hope I can only clear that up with reading these lyrics and kind of giving my thoughts along with it. And once again, this is saying about the children dancing and playing. It goes into like more, once again, my connotation of it. It's, the children, the kids, they want to stay, it's a kind of fountain of youth kind of thing, and you stay youthful forever. So that's just how I look at it, and it's the line before that saying there's a jackboot toe tap keeping time. There's a bunch of people keeping time on you and watching you and all that stuff. But, so like I said, some of the stuff it's like you don't agree with, but you want to I'm trying to validate pretty much all these lyrics that I say. So that everything is valid and accepted, The next lyrics I'm going to go into is Rage Against the Machine. And yeah, this guy's he's got a lot of good lines, and I'm sure, like I said, want to shout out to like any hip hop people who are, really saying some crazy stuff, and I forget what they call it, because I'm like kind of going crazy right now. I'm kind of cold too. But yeah, so like, they got like amazing lines, and it's like, man, like they're spitting fire. Like there are some guys who spit fire that's not just like this chaotic way, like they're spitting truth and they're spitting fire, you know. So shout out to any of those hip hop rappers, any of that kind of stuff who's doing that down. I wish I could do you some justice and kind of show you the dynamics of that, but I'm just showing through my lens of perspective, and you know, all the other stuff that's going on, and trying to explain that. So anyway, this goes into, like I said, Rage Against the Machine. This first song is called Maria. Once again, that's another name for Mary, Spanish. The sun ablaze as Maria's foot touches the surface of sand on northern land as human contraband. Some Rico from Jessico passed her name to the boss. She stuffed into the truck bud. She clutches her cross. So these are her mountains and skies, and she radiates. Through history's rivers of blood, she regenerates. And like the sun disappears only to reappear, she's eternally here. Her time is near, never conquered, but here to tear away at the mask. And, you know, like I said, with the mask, people are always trying to strip the boundaries and layers, while at the same time they have to adhere to stuff. And like I said, with like the Virgin Mary, I'm pretty sure that, you know, anyone who's talking about, you know, Mary, Maria, any virgins, and they're talking about this kind of stuff, that's got to be what they're talking about in my viewpoint. And I feel like it's pretty accurate. So they say through history's rivers of blood, you know, one saying that this is kind of a cycle that keeps going on, and we got to break the cycle, you know. And that's what I gotta say. These lyrics aren't enough. You gotta, you know, stop the cycle. And so a lot of these artists, though they are nurturing and keeping us safe, they're not stopping the cycle. And that's where I want to be different. So I brought that song up just for that. So just read this, I guess. It's called New Millennium Homes. Hungry people don't stay hungry for long. They get hope from fire and smoke as the weak grows strong. Hungry people don't stay hungry for long. They get hope from fire and smoke as they reach for the dawn. Once again, we're talking about the dawn, whether that's their dawn or humanity's dawn. And once again, talking about fire and smoke, because we are creating fires, we are creating smoke, we are also turning people into fires and smoke. And unfortunately, we mean that very literally in some aspects. The spirit of Jackson now screams through the ruins, through factory chains, and the ghost of the Union. The forgotten remains disappear to their new homes. The knife, the thrust, the life burns to the raw bone. The blood on the floor of the tears still drying cover the spreadsheets, the Dow Jones skying. Cell block livestock, the bodies they buyin', old South order, new northern horizon. And when I say about like amazing lyrics, you know, the cell block, our society is a prison. We're all livestock. You know, lots of people say, hey, we're all sheep or we're all cattle. But when they say the bodies they buy in, like, I'm pretty sure he's saying what I'm saying, where people are literally turned into like property, and some of them get into the situation I'm got, but we're all owned by the system, and we're all getting stripped down. We're all, you know, still in chains, even though that we're free, you know, some of us more free than others. And obviously I'd be envious of people who are able to live their life, and they're still talking about keeping order and protecting people while I'm trying to stay alive, you know. So that's just real quick on that one. Another one, Sleep Now in the Fire. I'll just say a couple lines from this. Still Rage Against the Machine. The world is my expense, the cost of my desires. Jesus blessed me with its future, and I protect it with fire. So raise your fist and march around. Just don't take what you need. I'll jail and bury those committed and smother the rest in greed. So Jesus blessed me with its future. I don't know if that's talking to like the people like me who are put in this Jesus Christ ritual. And then, like I said, then, you know, there's this Virgin Mary side to it. And then there's this scapegoat thing where basically the people who are screaming out the message that people really need to hear, want to hear, are the ones who are, brought to the gallows. And then, this is saying Jesus blessed me with its future. So I'm pretty sure people like myself, like I said, no ego, just kind of observing and seeing all this kind of stuff. There are, different iterations or variation on Jesus or how to live that life and love as, the Son of God, quite literally the Son, as in like the Son we look up to and keeps us, out of the darkness, the Son of God or the light of God. They're very, when these people are ritualized, they give different messages that really keep us passionate for what we care about and loving. And I would say he's definitely one of these people who, took that love and still is using his anger as a gift. Once again, his lyrics, right? He protects it with fire. So like still like it goes back to what I was saying about that ring of fire. There's another band, The Safety Fire. Basically people, having this layer to keep the evil people out or people that might do harm. And sadly, people like me get caught, and others who are in this kind of like Jesus ritual where it's like people know about it and they don't say anything. And these are like the most beautiful people in the world, right? So like I said, like people can also, like I said, talk about the fire in this, it gets pretty hardcore. It has a full dynamic and duality to it, but that's where I go into where it's like the fire is kind of abused and we misuse it, and how we've become more evil over time. And if we're saying, oh, it's okay, it's the end of the world, it's okay, all this fire is happening and we're not really doing anything, but we're keeping people safe. So I just seen if I want to use this one. So just another song to look down if you want, from Rage, Born as Ghosts. And here's another one from them, Voice of the Voiceless. Through steel walls, your voice blasting on. True rebel, my brother Mumia, I reflect upon. You the spark that sets the prairie fires on. Make the masses a mastodon path to trample the fascists on. At 15, expose Philly's finest killing machine. Boots and mad guns, they pacify ya young. Cause and effect, smell the smoke in the breeze. My panther, my brother, we are at war until you're free. And so obviously there is the black connotation, and obviously like we are still fighting that war in a lot of ways. But I want to point out certain other ones. He said expose Philly's finest killing machine. And what people may not know is Philly is the city of brotherly love, and it's got a lot of Masonic foundations to it. So that's, Philly's finest killing machine. It's no different than the government. It's no different than this patriotic thing. And as he said, path to trample the fascists on, is fascists bleeding out of the streets. And though the streets may be paved with gold, the people who shape that narrative, what if the streets aren't paved with gold? They're paved with gold and blood, right? But we don't want to talk about that. We just want to say, hey, if it's not shining, don't look at it. We throw that away, right? And these, whether it's Masons or people in the government or the people who are the secret society, they have this thing where they just, want you to throw away, and they take out the trash to the custodians. And from each update, in history, or just talking about getting rid of people like me who actually want to start something that's organic and real and of love, and, trying to show what's in the darkness, let's finish that one. Just like the last end of this, Voice of the Voiceless song, and Orwell's Hell. I'm pretty sure that's 1984. I'm not sure, but a reference to one of those. In Orwell's Hell, a terror era coming through, but this little brother's watching you too. And Orwell's Hell, a terror era coming through, but little brother's watching you too, watching you too. Saying that this, from his perspective, or just in general. You got Big Brother and the all-seeing eye and this stuff. And so, there are people who are like, I'm clearly against it, I'm not a part of it, but at the same time, they're watching you and I'm watching you too. So you can't get away from this surveillance state. So I just want to say that last line. I'm not going to say anything about him specifically or what he meant, but just like what I take from it. Born of a Broken Man, another Rage song. My fears hunt me down, capturing my memories, the frontier of loss. They try to escape across the street where Jesus stripped bare and raped the spirit he was supposed to nurture in the name of my Born of a Broken Man. So once, like this whole being bare thing, it's kind of like, oh, you bare yourself to the whole world. So it's like, that can get you in trouble, like I know. And once again, it's bringing Jesus stripped bare. And he raped the spirit he was supposed to nurture. So a lot of people, like I said, have anger towards me. And I just have a different perspective, and I don't think I should be killed for that. I don't think I should be tortured for that. I don't think I'm raping the spirit of Jesus, but I am trying to strip us bare. I have been stripped bare, and I think what I have learned and what I have to share is a good thing. And I don't want to say it in subliminal messages or this kind of twilight language that all these artists do, whether that's movies and TV or music, But like I said, this is just, saying a different perspective of that same kind of thing with Jesus. And like people who, feel like I don't know, they're a threat or something like that. And they're trying to say why they're a threat. And like I said, I just want this to be known, And Guerrilla Radio, another one from them. Basically, it's a big known song from them. But I'll just say the last part. Contact, I hijacked the frequencies, blocking the beltway, moving on DC. Way past the days of booming MCs. Sound off, Mumia, go on, be free. Who got him? Yo, check the federal file. So, thing to take away is the Beltway, which is a big thing with like DC and like the information of the Beltway and all that what comes with that, and like the information in the surveillance state and all that kind of stuff. Saying check the federal file, but also he's hijacking the frequencies. It all comes into that kind of stuff. And there's people on the, they're doing this kind of, saying guerrilla radio. It's warfare, basically, for sound. And sound has been turned into a weapon. And it's like, that's a great thing, beautiful thing when we're fighting this. Another line from this. Transmission, Third World War, third round, a decade of the weapon of sound above ground. So it's like people are saying they know that sound has been turned into a literal weapon. There's a band, Death by Audio. I don't really know them, but I know, like the stuff, the messages make you remember. But yeah, it's like people know these killing weapons with sound exist, the microwaves, all that stuff, and the frequencies. And like I said, I don't even know like the nuances of this espionage kind of stuff, or like how they control the signal and try and get stuff out other than just like their music or their message or art. People are doing stuff behind doors and trying to keep people like me safe and all this other stuff. Going into the next band that I'm going to be singing lyrics from, this band Converge. The song is called Dark Horse, and it speaks to me a lot. For all those born to serve, as we're talking about serve those in servitude for ruling class, secret societies, as we said, let their sadness be our blessing, let their losses lead the way. The dark horse will one day come to free the light from all of us. One day the dark horse will come, the dark horse will come. For all those born to die and those that lost the fight, let their hard roads be our way out, let their passion lead the way. So, there's a lot of stuff going on with that, and basically, like stating the deep truth that people are being tortured and die, and we got to learn from them and remember them. But like I said, if we're not saying the truth, are we really remembering them? And I think everybody who's died, we need to show homage to them, and other than just our music, and say what's actually going on. So, like I said, I'm hoping I won't be one of the ones that died. I hope that my torture ends, really soon, or else, I don't know. But people do learn from those people and people like me. And like I said, this is saying one day the dark horse will come and free the light from all of us. And that's what these lyrics inspired me. So that's why I'm doing what I do, is because when I get inspired, it's like, I want everyone to be free. I don't want us to be prisoners. I don't want us to live that dream. The next song from him, or from Converge, it's called The Saddest Day. He won't be breathing in the same sun again. None of this will ever surface again. How we get older, how we forget about each other, and the angel falls to the sky. Raised and coiled, she blessed this day she did, and it rings our ears. She rarely flies anymore, burden broke her wings. And I know this ghost, I have seen it before. Young it is dying too fast, too soon, I'll be okay. The air thins in the quick, and our lips move, but we hear no sound. She whispered, every time you justify another good and you dies. Your faith and fear seared me, and love and you pull all the right strings. How we get older, how we forget about each other, she said, entwined within the sadder of days. And this is a hardcore band. But yeah, basically my guess is he's talking about one of those people who lost their lives, and as I said before, like, they do a lot of crazy programming. So it's like there's stuff where they'll say like a Chinese person, a black person. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but basically using those in a subliminal and negative way. So there's like a racist connotation, then another other one going on with that. So even like liberals of today know this stuff, and they're keeping that a secret. And so, like, one of the other things that happened to me, like, they really feminized me, and that could go into like the Virgin Mary kind of ritual. But it also can be, someone who's really comfortable with both their male and female, like the masculine and feminine part of the spirit, which we all have. But so, a lot of these people, or at least that I've seen in metal and hardcore songs, like, they talk about she and her, and they're talking about a guy maybe, and other times they are talking about a she or her. It's not like this is only happening to men, but I think a lot of the hardcore stuff, no pun intended, but the hardcore torture and that stuff, it's like men have that more aggressive attitude, you know what I mean? And so a lot of men will stick to the guns a little more, a lot more than women, and like I said, women having their collective consciousness, all that kind of being pushed down, whether that's from like the stay-at-home wives, and same with like black people, which they have the collective consciousness of kind of being pushed down, and the memories of slavery, and they're still fighting, and so that's all kind of built up, and that kind of represents why they use their outlet for music or whatnot in a certain way, or how they come across, or speak their message, I guess it would be the better way to say it. So here's that other song I was talking about. Travin Wilburys, Cool Dry Place lyrics. And I'm sorry, I'm freezing here. Hold on one sec. I was gonna try and finish it up without that, but like, definitely more lyrics to go. And like I said, I'm just kind of giving a broad overview and trying to say whatever. So, as I had referenced about the Cool Dry Place earlier on, Um, like I said, lots of people are out there protecting stuff and killing people, and also lots of people are protecting people and know all these horrible things because they've had it done to them, or they protect a lot of people. So just gonna read some lyrics in this. I tried to call the lawyer and ask him what to do. He referred me to his doctor, who referred me back to you. And when you checked the manual you kept inside the case, it said put in a cool, dry place. So basically, like, this goes into like the other aspect. There's like the show Doctor Who, and this basically, like, lots of people, you know, who aren't doctors and nurses are nurses and doctors. Obviously they're specialized to help with more of these other things, and obviously if the torture has gotten worse and all these other things, like I said, this could go before the 80s, and obviously, like I said, with the Beatles, so it's like, who knows when certain things, but like it goes into lawyers and doctors, and I'm just saying there's another connotation to that, of like the civilian state of lawyers and doctors who fight against like the unknown law, the unwritten law that everyone has to follow that they don't know. And with the doctors, it's kind of people using, whether it's like these musicians, and they're like, you know, getting you better with like the love of their words, kind of just like if you were reading the Bible, the Vedas, any religious thing or any spiritual works or writings. It's kind of like that level. And then there's also like, you know, doctor for like one's soul. So it's more about the interactions that people have in their life, and kind of, like I said, it's more that guardian angel kind of vibe. So yeah. I paid my first subscription, then I joined the idol race, and they said store it in a cool, dry place. So I'm not sure if I'm taking it in the right way, but there's this song, both by George Harrison and the Traveling Wilburys, "Cool Dry Place." I think it's definitely speaking about the same type of stuff. Like I said, I'll get a certain connotation by, at least, you know, and I think most people who know this stuff, when they read these lyrics, they know what they're talking about, at least enough to be like, oh, they're talking about this stuff. And so it's like kind of embracing love and embracing stuff we can't talk about, but still talking about it. So definitely check out those lyrics if you're interested. Next one, Soundgarden. The song's called Black Hole Sun. So, trying to just get some key lines from this one. So the chorus, no, we'll go with this first. Boiling heat, summer stench, neither the black, the sky looks dead. Call my name through the cream, and I'll hear you scream again. Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come? And many people could say, you know, there's lots of different different connotations to what black hole sun means. I'm talking about, like I said, like the Son of God, the whole Jesus Christ thing, and people who sing and have that love in their heart, from, like, you know, have really nurturing and understanding of the light. You know, it says wash away the rain, going back to the rain and the hurricane and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the second verse is, in my shoes, a walking sleep, in my youth, I pray to keep, heaven sent, hell away, no one sings like you anymore. And once again, it goes back to singing your song and all that. And so a lot of people like myself or other ones who never get to sing their song, I'm trying to sing mine as best I can. You know, they sing beautifully. And once again, it's like anybody who, you know, even though they have to do what they do against their will, they can hear true music. And I say that, you know, like people's music, you know, that's what I'm doing. That's, if you're singing your art, that's the music you make, and that's the metaphor. And this line, no one sings like you anymore, as time has gone on, that spirit is kind of dead. And and died, and people like me aren't really who embrace the light and embrace the divinity and all this other stuff, as we know. And I'm not going to go into it too much. Christianity at some time was kind of bought and sold its soul itself. You go back to that thing about the cover of Time and God is dead. I mean, that is and was our culture, and you know what I mean. So that's how I keep with that. But like I said, it keeps going back to like that Jesus Christ kind of thing, that ritual, the Virgin Mary and the scapegoat thing. Like, these are good people. These are loving people who sing beautiful music, quote unquote. They have a beautiful song. They can dance really good. You know what I mean? This next one from Soundgarden is Rusty Cage. Oh, you wired me awake and hit me with a hand of broken nails. Yeah, you tied me, led and pulled my chain to watch my blood begin to boil. But I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run. Yeah, I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run. Too cold to start a fire. I'm burning diesel, burning dinosaur bones. Yeah, I'll take the river down to still water and ride a pack of dogs. Hits like the Phillips hits into my head. It's gonna be dark to sleep, too dark to sleep again. Cutting my teeth on bars and rusty chains. I'm gonna break my rusty cage and run. And like I said, a lot of people don't want to go to the negative aspect that we're like born in a cage. And all I can say is like, yeah, it's not that doom and gloom, but at the same time, it kind of is. And this whole you pulled my chain just to watch my blood begin to boil. We're still in chains, and people are, poking at people to get the worst reaction out of them, but still they're suffering in silence. Some not as much. They are the voice of the voiceless. Like I said, a lot of these artists are. And like, who are the voiceless? Well, they're the ones who feel this kind of stuff and they don't get hurt, What's the other? And burning dinosaur bones, like that's kind of like a metaphor that some people use. Dinosaurs are the old people and they're extinct, so we're making room for this new wave of thing. And so anybody who doesn't do the new thing, the new trend, and in my torture, I've sadly been called a dinosaur a bunch of times, and there's different connotations, like I said, but that's how it goes, right? So yeah, just want to read a couple lyrics from that. This next one, I think it's the Eagles, right? Didn't write it down. But the Eagles, Hotel California. Welcome to the Hotel California. Such a lovely place, such a lovely face. They living it up in Hotel California. What a nice surprise. Bring your alibis. Mirrors on the ceiling, the pink champagne on ice. She said, we're all just prisoners here of our own device. And in the master's chambers, they gathered for the feast. They stab it with their steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. And once again, it goes back into as many people who have the perspective that, people have the spirit of Christ. They also have the spirit of the Antichrist or the devil. Like I said, people in my last part of the video series, people talk about like Billy, as in like a billy goat, and that's like the devil. So a lot of songs about Billy, you can look up, and they're going to be talking about like the same concept, like I said. So like this, same with a lot of names, but once again, going over the whole prisoners here, later in the song, it's saying, relax, said the night man, we are programmed to receive. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. So, I don't know if some people are really like, who knows what this Hotel California is. It's just another metaphor for, this kind of prison we're stuck in, where, once we know we're stuck in this situation, and saying you can never check out, it's like you can never tell the truth. You're here for life. And at this other time, they gathered for the feast. They stab it with their steely knives. And then they're saying, but you can't kill the beast. Um, People are trying to kill these people like myself and people who want to say the truth or stray away from, what's accepted. You know what I mean? And they're doing it because they think, oh, safety and protection, and that's true. But at the same time, we're not, like I said, protecting and saving people like we should be. And so, what do these people do? Well, like I said, we're cannibalizing our own. We're also marching towards extinction, and we are literally eating these people psychologically, turning into zombies. While we use subliminal messages to call those people zombies. And why? Because you're waking them up. You're waking the dead. You're trying to get people to feel again, but you still want them to, adhere to these messages, adhere to the way they have to live, and say this is the way it is. You got next song that I chose, Bee Gees, "Staying Alive." You can tell by the way I walk. I use my walk by the. So I'll start again. You can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. The music loud and the woman warm. I've been kicking around since I was born. And now it's alright, it's okay, and you may look the other way, but we can try to understand the New York Times effect on man. Whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking. We're staying alive, staying alive. So, basically kind of like saying, in a subtle way, like this is a situation that we do, and like he's a woman's man, a ladies' man. I don't know, connotations to like, one side of the family or the other. They talked about the gold, silver, mother and father. But yeah, see, the woman's man, and like as much as like the politics and stuff may divide, it's like I kind of feel like I'm definitely, um, you fight for women. You know what I mean? So you're a woman's man and all that. Um, but yeah, and you can't. But we can try to understand the New York Times effects on man. It's basically like the news, and that can be like the news that we know or the unwritten news. And in my torture, sadly, like people have said, like I'm a news reporter of like the news that's not allowed to be said. Like I said, these are just the whispers I hear from these people. Like I said, I can only speculate. But yeah, this song basically, staying alive in a world where all this crazy stuff's going on. So it's like this song is talking about all that stuff. It's obviously not specifically, but definitely a feel good song. That's probably why I added it. So we get into the other side of stuff a little bit. You have Queen, another One Bites the Dust. And, it's like, I don't know, you would think most people would be kind of like, what is that song, Another One Bites the Dust, about? Like, who's he talking about? What type of people are they talking about, But you know what I mean? Lyrics in the chorus, another one bites the dust, and another one gone, and another one gone, and another one bites the dust. I mean, we're talking about a song that's a pop hit song that's talking about killing people, and like dust could be like you're dusting a vampire, like turning someone to dust, whether that's ashes or whatever. And I mean, this is, like I said, like a pop song, you know what I mean? Just read some other lyrics from it. There are plenty of ways that you can hurt a man and bring him to the ground. You can beat him, you can cheat him, you can treat him bad and leave him when he's down. But I'm ready, yes, I'm ready for you. I'm standing on my 2 feet. Out of the doorway, the bullets rip, repeating the sound of the beat. And like I said from that other song, he said like the rhythm of the war drum, and that's what a lot of this music is. If you have your music as a weapon, it can also be to the sound of the war drum, and you're also keeping the beat, which is like a term people use. Like I said, still in connection to like the song and the dancing and all that kind of stuff. They have like the 2-step, and I don't know if that could be in reference to the 2-step, like left, right, like marching orders. So just, putting it out there, you could, and I'll say this now, I guess, you could put every genre of music, and there's like a subtle or subliminal intended meaning to that, rock, and you got the Rolling Stone, the band the Rolling Stones. But you know, you got rock, you got rap. You know, you can look up, you know, Rap Sheet or stuff like that. Hip hop, they're, you know, bouncing around. That connects, like I said, to hippies and hipsters and all that kind of shooting from the hip, sticking to your guns kind of thing, and having like that raw fire, that, you know, good version of fire, but also the chaotic version, as we know with gangster rap. So just giving a couple examples, like every genre of music can have another intended layer of meaning to it. But yeah, so I mean, I know that song "Another One Bites the Dust" was like a popular one, you know. So it's like it's crazy, like I'm saying, like I think that's the first example of sounding like a popular pop song. So um, here's a song by Breaking Benjamin. It kind of goes into these oaths and you know, fall into the orders that may be in the world. This one's called "I Will Not Bow." Now the dark begins to rise. Save your breath, it's far from over. Leave the lost and dead behind. Now's your chance to run for cover. I don't want to change the world. I just want to leave it colder. Light the fuse and burn it up. Take the path that leads to nowhere. All is lost again, but I'm not giving in. So like I said, most people, you know, can just think about it on in the terms that they understand it, but with the subliminal stuff, and you know, like I said, like people are running cover, like they literally mean running for cover, or else, you know, they're gonna have harm done to them or harm to their psyche, or people are going to hunt for them, you know, and you leave lost and dead behind. I mean, they literally mean the lost and the dead. Like I said, I was lost, there's other who are lost, and they get thrown to the side, and a lot of them end up dead, whether it's suicide or homicide. And they're saying, I will not bow to that, and yet they also want to light the fuse to burn up the world that forgot about these people and forgot about, you know, everybody. So that's my takeaway. But I put that into this because of the "I will not bow," and just showing that does exist. And then like it's showing like the two sides, like the ones who want to burn the world down because they can't say the truth, though they could, you know, just at a price, right? So there's ones who want to burn the world down, and there's other ones who want to just focus on love. And it's like, well, I think both sides could learn that we need to focus on truth, right? Just kind of putting my style into this, right? So then you go the other side of that conversation, possibly. I'm just going to say the lyrics. But it's a metal band, Born of Osiris. Once again, Osiris could go the Egyptian stuff. The Masons have the all-seeing eye. I'm reading into it, but I'm just showing bringing up these connections while I do it. And this song's called Bow Down. So, fucking bow down. You were the price of the killing while we were waiting on the other side. The other ones were just standing, but we were playing on the other side. You can close your eyes, forget what you have seen. Bless us all, they are guilty. But bring back what is yours. We tried to escape, but you still waste away. Nothing remains, nothing is safe, no mistakes. You can't take what you've given away. You were the price of the killing. We were just playing. And if this shows kind of like the fucked up sides of the duality, you know, you were the price of the killing. We tried to escape, but you still waste away. I mean, these things eat at people's psyche. And if they are lost, you know what I mean? And so I just showed the other side of not bowing down and wanting to set the world on fire, at least from that artist, Breaking Benjamin's perspective. And then this one is talking about, you know, forget what you have seen, bless us all, they are guilty. I mean, these people know that evil things are happening. They say you are the price of the killing. They say that thing about waiting on the other side, like I said, whether it's the afterlife or that whole crossing the street kind of thing. Those metaphors that I mentioned in the last video series I did. But yeah, like I said, it's like, you know, yeah, this is definitely like a duality of what's going on. But like I said, both sides, you can tell, have this vile, this lust for violence, I guess we'll say, and this lust for righteousness and killing. And yet they'll say, I'm too self-righteous. So once again, it shows, I'm trying to point out the nonsense and all of the hypocrisies in the world, and try and bring us all together and say, hey, we do want the same thing, whether you bow down, you don't bow down, you want to have love, or you want to put fire into the world, however you want to put fire, however you hold up the flame, and also that everything should be allowed to be said. And, lyrics like, you were the price of the killing, we were just playing. Um, you know what I mean? There's a certain time where people, you got to say the truth, right? And like I said, lots of hardcore and metal and hip hop is like this kind of stuff, and even a lot of rock. Once again, you got to wonder why rock went away. In the 2000s, it's just like kind of rock slowly faded away, and it's like the gatekeepers said rock's not allowed to exist anymore. And my guess would be the message that it says, and I think I referenced in the other one. Some people call that kind of rock, or that return to the rock from the 90s, they call it butt rock, which goes into the ass and the jackass, and like the connotations and subliminal stuff they say about, like, being an ass, and smelling up the place, or being like, a jackass, which goes into a servant who's being like an asshole or whatever. So just showing all sides of the argument, what's going on. And here's a Bruce Springsteen song, once again, kind of talking about, like I mentioned, the other one, they were talking about like stuff about Jack or Johnny, and my name's Joe. They could be talking about Average Joe. Like, lots of names are used in a different way, but they're used so many times. And like I said, unless you hear the connotations, like of how it works, and see that people are talking about different trends with names, and so stuff kind of works like that. And this one's like, Johnny works in a factory, Billy works downtown, Terry works in a rock and roll band looking for that $1 million sound. It was talking about like another one earlier, talking about the millionaire thing. And I have different connotations with my experience, but I know that millionaire thing and that $1 million thing is like people like me who are put on the chopping block, and they have to prove their ground, and it's like kind of live or die. And this is my song, this is what my thing is. So I hope, this is my $1 million sound, and that's how exactly, I put it. And so, I didn't talk in this type of way in like the other video parts, but we're talking about music, right? We're talking about different ways people have perspective. So I'm taking their style and I'm putting it in my style, right? So the promise, basically, I'll just read this part. The promise is broken, you go on living. It steals from down in your soul. And when the truth is spoken and it don't make no difference, something in your heart goes cold. So, just people talking about their different feelings about like the world and stuff like that. And, just as I was trying to go with like different tropes. I don't remember who did this song, but it's called The Promise. And I'm just going to say this one part of it. I never said I would give you silver or gold, or that you would never feel the fire or shiver in the cold. But I did say you'd never walk through this world alone. And I did say, don't make this world your home. So I'll read the next part, I guess, too. I never said that fear wouldn't find you in the night, or that loneliness was something you'd never have to fight. But I did say I'd be right there by your side, and I did say I'll always help you fight. And I'm not going to point out how, like, no matter what, all these people say they'll help me fight, and yet I've been alone. You know what I mean? A lot of people help me in ways that I couldn't see, or maybe were in my head, or like were directing me in a different direction, or trying to direct me in the right direction. But like I said, it's like no one says what the rules are. So I'll say there's that aspect. And then, like I said, just like to show that the alchemy thing and like whatever is in a lot of lyrics. This was just like a instance where they said, I never said I would give you silver or gold. Basically like riches, which basically like riches in your soul or riches otherwise. But the silver or gold is definitely like a metaphor to like alchemical stuff. And it's definitely like the alchemical wedding, whether it's silver or gold, the father and the mother, the sun and the moon. which if you look at people in modern day, like a lot more people like in the past like 10, 20 years use like alchemical kind of stuff or like that occult stuff. So I'll just leave that like that. uh, so this next band, Counterparts, um, a hardcore band. This first one's called Heaven Let Them Die. And to the sky I prayed for flesh not yet decayed. I wept when heaven let them die. When heaven let them die, let them die. So that's a pretty short song, but you know, it's going back to that flesh not yet decayed, yet people are getting tortured, yet people know that they've been martyred and stuff's going to happen to them, and that people weep for those people and people wish they could help them, but because of the messed up situation in our world, that's kind of how it comes down. So I'll leave that one there. This next song from Counterparts is called Dark Ages. And I guess I'll just read it a little bit. Yeah, I'll just start reading some of it. You walk this road of desolation only to end up on your knees. Going back to the bow down thing, maybe. But I just know that you are not alone. But just know that you are not alone. The only things holding you back are the lies that you refuse to challenge. You're drowning in a sea of self-destruction, and your lungs are starting to cave in. And when you feel that words can only be heard in echoes, they are more deafening than ever before. Every day we face helps. I don't know if that came out right. We face helps build the strength that makes us who we are. I've lived through this, and so can you. Suffering and silence has become something thrown to our past. And though the friendships we've built are constantly falling apart, the remaining few retain the most heart, and I'll give you my heart. So I think those are pretty badass lyrics. To instill you with love and hope and all that kind of thing. And once again, saying that the remaining few, especially in our modern era, they have the most heart, you know. And a lot of people will say that they have heart, and like I said, it's like goes back into that dog-eat-dog dynamic that's only gotten stronger and stuff like that. And there are people who still have love, and they do mean it. And you know, they become the ones most susceptible to like the torture and stuff. I don't know if that was the right word, but basically they become the targets, you know, because they have the most heart, you know. But there's a lot of weight that comes with it. Like I said, the weight. So this next one's called Carpe Diem. Just, you know, saying some lyrics from them. That you are here, that life exists in identity, that the powerful play goes on and you will contribute a verse. What will your verse be? And once again, you know, this is just instilling more about, you know, some people call it the show, show business, the business. This guy's saying a powerful play, and everyone contributes a verse. Everyone has their own song, just kind of like, you know, that's why I left in there. It's kind of like I said, instilling that ever so beautiful part of the song and the dance, and everyone has a song and a voice. This next song from Counterparts is Digression. I'll just read the whole thing. Our once solid path is starting to diverge. A space between us growing ever greater makes it hard for me to breathe, but no amount of distance can change my feelings for you. How can it be that a day I've always dreamed of could also be a day that I wished would never come? And we are slowly becoming two very different people, but I won't give you up without a fight. This is everything I've ever meant to say to you. You could be thousands of miles away, but I'll still see you when I close my eyes. We've come too far to let our story end like this, and we've come too far to let what we've built fall apart. We both know this is love. I will never forget you. I can't speak to his perspective, you know, or like how he meant it, but you know, just one line that hit me was, how can it be that a day I've always dreamed of could also be a day that I wish would never come? And this is, could be seen many ways, like people who finally give up when part of accepting how the world is, or it could be talking about what I'm talking about right now. And it's like, he said in another song, I don't know if it's the same lyricist, but like fighting for what you believe in and to challenge the lies. And so maybe if someone, really chooses to stand up against the lies and be like, everyone is writing about this. Everyone is miserable. Everyone's suffering. Yeah, we're protecting people. There's a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of love. But, this dream that I have is a dream I know other people have. And I think this is what he could have been talking about in those lyrics. And so he dreams of what I dream, this tidal wave of love, where it just brings the truth to reality so that love can maybe find its place in this duality. I haven't said it yet in this, I don't think, maybe not the whole video series. Basically, like, we have the yin yang, and it's like, the light and the dark and the dark and the light. And the monad, it's a symbol, and it's kind of like a teaching to it. It's like the all. And basically the monad is like a mostly white circle with a black dot, and I find that is the potential that we could be living in the duality we could be living in, rather than the yin yang, which has its own beauty and its symbol. But I mean, as far as like the world that if we hide all the darkness, it's going to still be there, right? Whereas if we bring the darkness to light, we can start to diminish the actual dark in the world, rather than having people pretending to be in this spot where they're changing the world and making stuff making stuff better by taking out the trash, who that could be people or cultures. And everything belongs, and we definitely shouldn't be torturing and killing and throwing out people and having like stuff in our culture that's kind of like pointing that way, and kind of like giving these people pride, where it's like, we're cleaning up our town by killing people. Well, it's like, it's not really speaking from love. And if you guys are projecting divine knowledge or keeping people safe, once again, it's that counterproductive thing. And it's not always going to be duality, right? So it's a song by 18 Visions. 18 Visions, just my take on the name of the band. Like I said about 17 earlier, it's like 18 visions. So like when you're becoming an adult and you see stuff how it really is, and you're living as an adult, and the visions you have with that. Just my take on the name. Like I said, I can laser in on it, kind of like feeling how people perceive like stuff and how they see the world through their music. So like I said, I can be wrong and right, but I feel like based on my programming, a lot of it makes me a little more accurate. So this one's called Crucified. It says, still crucified, I've never been consumed, never conformed like you, still crucified. You once were a king, but you've become a pawn. You were once a king, but you've become a pawn, now a slave. Yeah, you've been so deceived. Oh, and oh, what a crime that you're living a lie when the truth was right there to be seen. So like, just showing that back and forth of living in the truth and living in lies. And yet we all are living in lies. I'm not trying to take anything from these lyrics. But yeah, many people continue on knowing that the world is lies, or they live in their truth, So I can take love from that part of it. So this one is Spit from 18 Visions. I could be the reason you can't fight off your demons, because it's just so fucking chemical. Mine has got you going. The needle's got you showing that you're just so fucking, I don't want to say cheap, it could cut off. I kill just to justify before I take. Yes, I kill just to feel so alive. Yes, I feel so alive. Spit you out, I will spit you out. I will leave you here to die, your soul in chains. Yes, I kill just to feel so alive. Yes, I feel so alive. Now I've got you thinking the shit has got you twisted, because it's just so fucking chemical. High is getting low and sweats are getting cold. So once again, like, I tried, I showed a couple from before, metal and hardcore can get like really violent and all that kind of stuff. And like I said, hip hop can too. I gotta get something to drink. Excuse me. But yeah, so like whether your perspective is one thing or another, a lot of people are just killing, they say that thing cheap thrills, and then there's that AC/DC song Dirty Deeds Done Cheap. And it's like some people are part of this business and they kill people. Other people are doing their music or their art. A lot of these writers and authors in Hollywood, they're doing the same thing or using the subliminal language, knowing that if you're hooked up to the signal, you're gonna get messed up. You know what I mean? And like I said, knowing that that's going to result in suicide or homicide, or like I said, that people don't care that there's like 500 mass homicides or mass shootings happening. You know what I mean? There's like a band Bowling. I think I said this before. A band Bowling for Soup, and there was like the movie about Columbine, which was I think the first mass shooting, and the thing was called Bowling for Columbine, and it's very much of that, dude. Like those people were probably targeted in a way or lived in the life, and they were only in high school, and they knew enough or whatever, seen enough, and all these people, they were bowling for Columbine. They wanted those kids to do that mass shooting. How were those kids influenced specifically? I don't know. But the fact that that documentary was called Bowling for Columbine, and I know that that bowling thing is kind of like a reference for people kind of like going hunting or trying to think, the other metaphor. It's not coming to me. But that's how people live, right? So this next band is called Leprous. Song's called Mirage. Join in with me. We'll fly on someone else's wings to where everybody is one. Above the sky we read is written black on white. The truth, follow the lead. Echoes of the same old psalm. Sing with me in unity. Join in with me. I have been trying to break out for too long from the cage. I found my path when I thought I was wrong. Stay close to me. I'll show you what you need to see. Close your eyes, trust in me. I'll be your guide blindly. So, that first line to me, it's like I said about that kind of crash dummy that sees the world as beautiful still and still surrounded by darkness, yet they're a crash dummy, and that's what society has decided for them. And everyone goes along with it, which makes it that much worse and terrifying. But this, that line, will fly on someone else's wings to where everybody is one, really kind of, I feel like, brings that kind of concept into play for me. Excuse me. And it's also, it's a very true statement. Everyone wants to go to that place, whatever the lines may be. This next one is called Have You Ever? It says, fly together forever. I see it all now. Why? Respect them, reject them. Why? High above them, I show them. How will I collect them, affect them, lie to protect them, forget them? The reason why. Respect them, reject them, collect them, affect them. Why? Have you ever tried to make me blind with stories that would make me lose my mind? Would ever help me leave behind what I have lost, the line that I have crossed, what I've lost? Together forever, why? Reject them now, protect them, select them, fly. Neglect them, perfect them, project them, select them, fly. Neglect them, perfect them, how? So, this to me, like I said, goes into the people who are kind of made into guinea pigs, and that people still know, these people who are experiments or whatever, whether it's from the hive mind or however this surveillance state has been in the past before, digitized in the 80s or anything, this espionage state, he's talking about people watching people and they're being tortured. And, it says collect them and affect them, protect them, forget them, try to perfect them. This is what happens to me. They keep building you up to bring you back down, to build you up again, to bring you down. Uh, yeah, yeah. Thus that term, roller coaster love. But if that happens in a torture setting, as it's happened to me, that's literally like the playbook for how to give someone bipolar, by the book, So there's actually a recipe for how to give someone bipolar. And that's like part of how that works. But this is kind of like saying the beauty of that process, but also asking in horror kind of why. So that's my take of this song. And just once again, it's saying, what I have lost, that line have crossed. So once you cross over, you know all this stuff. And you obviously lose your soul, you sell your soul, all that kind of stuff. So, this next song by Leprous as well. The Price. Piercing his eyes, scars you can't see, cutting profound, places you don't want to be, climbing a mountain, crossing a sea. Behind, the struggle has ended, damaged mind, already descended, acting out, striving to make me secure. Friendly betrayal, somber delight, treating his tumor without a fight. So yeah, I mean, once again, we talk about the price, like that other one said, the price for killing, or this can just be the price you pay, and it's definitely a hefty fee when you're learning this knowledge or you are seeking out stuff, and then they say, hey, now you got to not say anything about it. So without going too much further on that, this next one from them is called Atonement, and turmoil, empty faces in a whirlpool, removing pity with a sharp tool. Seems you're always the one to blame. Soul sour, crumbled, ready to devour, broken pieces of desire. Wanted freedom, but all you got was blame. You've always been in chains. The final lie, the last denial. Realize that it's all because of you. Cannot deny your standing trial, and again, it's all because of you. Which, as I said, this is kind of reiterating or bringing up that whole you're guilty kind of thing from that other song that which was made from like the 50s. And it's also talking of that trope of being in chains and how you're always the one to blame. And that's doing that scapegoat ritual thing, like I said. So I really hope that scapegoat thing is kind of getting into people, and a little bit of that Jesus Christ ritual and the Virgin Mary thing and that purity ritual, while also the hazing of and initiating of finding that and finding balance and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, this song is definitely, if like I said, you're lost or you're going through this stuff and you don't know what to do, I like this band. I'm a lover of this band. But they definitely show the duality of sides. And like I said, some people kind of leave you lost. You know what I mean? So if someone's saying this is all your fault, you're standing trial, it's all your fault. This is echoed in society, and it's not helping people. You know what I mean? So let's see. Aspire to be swallowed by the fire that your ego has acquired. The deception has cut through, and it's all because of you. So, for as much as we make ourselves like our own worst enemy, the society and, like I said, this music as a weapon or the culture as a weapon, the art as a weapon, goes hand in hand, And as I said, like with the other song or some other song, it said we are all guilty, and we all have blood on our hands if we know what's going on, and that is so very true. And if you do stuff like this, you are responsible for the hate that you put into the world without addressing specifics of what's going on in the world. Or, hey, they don't understand, they can't see, so I guess they got to suffer. And that's, like I said, not even going into the torture and killing of innocent people and all the profound torture, like just mentioned, scars you can't see. And these aren't just like kind of like, oh, you know, scars. Like these are deeply psychological, you know, cuts into people's psyche. And if people are actually electrocuted or microwaved and their body is, you know, put on torture, and people aren't even addressing those, and like I said, millions of people go through that too, I'm going to guess, but I can only speculate. At least people know about that. That's you know, what's happening. Um, so going to a little more nuanced, more warmer lyrics from Leprous. From the flame, you'll find me here when I'm gone, where I made my surrender. From the flame, I'll take my aim. Shaded windows, can I make it shut out? The painful view, cover up, hide from me. Shed a tear, say no more until you tell me when. Silent steps are echoing again. Um, so that line, um, lost my place for a sec. You know, you make your surrender from the flame, which goes into the fire and the true way of the world, which the flame can burn stuff down, it can engulf stuff, it can take in the chaos, it can warm people up. As I said, you know, with the tropes in my last video. But, you know, so this is just like a nuanced kind of song about that kind of stuff. So just showing an example about that. This last one from them is called Illuminate. Your road is paved, yet colored in black. Concealed by the night, it remains. Undiscovered until the dawn, hidden from the light, it remains. When night confines you, take my torch. Illuminate, your God might not rise. Light your way, illuminate. No ray meets your eye, find your day. So that's just a part of that, but it's just kind of like I said, instilling a lot of this other stuff. Concealed by the night. The night is the darkness, and we're all trying to find the dawn. And once again, he's bringing up the dawn and the light. And when night confines you, take my torch. So, I mean, these are lyrics that do help people. And like I said, it's kind of like some warmth, but at the same time, like the band's called Leprous, which lepers, it's like no one talks to the lepers or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's like, it's that duality at work again. And, you know, some people can't just have like, you know, oh, it's bad, but like, you know, fake it till you make it. I mean, people need to hear more substance in the lyrics and words, you know. And I'd say this band is a good way of doing that, you know. They're definitely like a duality, like I said, and some of the stuff, you know, it's like that thing we're all guilty of if you talk about this stuff or you use your music as a weapon in any way. But yeah, definitely a big fan of them. This next band, Hiatus Coyote. Just want to read one line from this. Song's called Molasses. So the one line I want to say, you're the one on top, relic with an armored heart, color of sulfur banished to a single arc. Porcelain smolder, and don't forget your state of the art, buried deep in the soil, selfless or daft. So, I mean, once again, you're banished to a single arc because you won't accept stuff or you've been martyred off. You're the one on top. That could be talking about like the top of the mountain. Like that's kind of like this big thing people have. You're the man on the mountain. You're all like these kind of things. And you know, the nuanced, you know, way her lyrics. She has some pretty crazy lyrics as far as like the art form of it, saying, "Hey, you're state of the art." You know, that's a nuanced way to be like, hey, you know, like that thing about being perfected and all this technology involved and all these people involved, and that everyone has their own kind of expression in light. So I just kind of wanted to say, like, to instill that thing about the single arc, and also, you know, just like some different lyrical kind of thing, stuff going on. This next band is called Brutus, and I like their messages a lot. I love the lyrics in this band. This one's called Love Won't Hide the Ugliness. Love won't hide the I'm so tired of. Love won't hide the ugliness. I'm so tired of looking. I won't cry this time. I'm still standing on the sideline. Love won't hide the ugliness. I'm so tired of losing. I won't cry this time around. I'm standing on the sideline. And now I'm falling from the sky. I am losing my mind. I will go. I will follow you, just you, with my head in the clouds. So I mean, like I said, like some people are brave with how they state their message. It's like all this love, all this protection, all these good things. They're not going to hide the ugliness that exists in the world. And if it keeps going on, like what is the purpose of this love? At some point you got to have the truth and the knowledge that will set us free, rather than this just blanket message, even if it is getting the love part of it down correctly. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's just some good lyrics to kind of like instill that, I guess. Then this next song, Liar. Before my eyes, this shit hurt. You've been lied to so many times. I stayed this long, so I might as well stay. I've been waiting, I've been fading to the ground. Rather been there, Why am I losing? I've never been honest, not even for a day. La la la, until the door slams in my face. No more. I'll read a little more. Another day into the darkness. I am the silence in your song. So close, no matter where you are. But for today, I am a liar. I am so wrong. I was so wrong. Another day into the silence. I am the darkness in your song. So close, no matter where you are. But for today, I'm just a liar. So I got a lot of respect for like this type of lyric, because it's basically saying, I know that, all these things are happening, and they're saying that they've suffered and that they, are trying to get out of the darkness, and they are singing the song of the voiceless. But at the same time, they're saying, but for today, I'm just a liar. And yet, so like I would see more truth in these lyrics and in this band Brutus than so many bands, and just like one thing I wanted to state, like I don't know if I'm making a connection here, but a lot of times you like in the lyrics it said la la la, and like people go la la la, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. So it's basically a lot of people do that, and I think that's like it's definitely a trope. Like trying to think, like the Fugees had Fuji La, so this is like, it's definitely like another kind of trope within like metaphors and like the intended language. So when you hear people doing that, it could be in a good way, couldn't be in a bad way. But sometimes you just don't want to hear it. There's so much noise and pollution in the world. So, good lyrics, and it's got that trope in it. So I'm glad I could get both of those going. What have we done? Also a song by Brutus. Once more we sing along to this never-ending song. Once more we carry on the pain. What have we done? Once more we sing along to this never-ending song. Once more we'll dance the hurt away. What do you say? Could I have done more? What if we're done? Once more we carry on the pain. What have we done? For too long, been dying inside. For too long I've been dying inside. For too long, oh. So this is, once again, it's talking about, what have we done? Like, I don't think people hit it on the head that clearly, like, what is going on in this world. And we're still singing this never-ending song, and we're all carrying pain. We're all dying inside. I mean, and we all are dancing the hurt away, So, like I said, some people get the love down, and some people get like the standing up against stuff by just saying like the actual truth, like what have we done? And yeah, I got a lot of respect for them for like doing the lyrics the way they do it, and I would love to know more bands who have lyrics like this, because it's definitely what I'm all about, you know. Song, next band I'm going to talk about is going back on that same thing that the last band Brutus was talking about, the Never Ending Story, which once again is another trope. So I'll read a little bit of it. I get it. You've got nothing left to give. The world took everything. No reason left to live. Nothing but the warmth of hate to keep you safe. Take it out on anyone who gets in your way. Your words are sharp, but they dull your mind. You're feeling sorry for yourself to pass the time. The front is strong, but your back is fucking weak. Grabbing at anything to stay on your feet. Mind racing, the voice is saying, all of this means nothing to me. I'm tired of suffering through all of everything, suffering through all of everything. When did you lose your way? When did you give up on everything? Remember when you used to fight for something? Now hollow and alone with nothing. So, like I said, once again, talking about the never-ending story, and how people always see these different types of people, no matter how it goes, and you know how like with this band, like they have anger at these people, but they also understand, and I think a lot of people are like that. But yeah, I mean, I think to say like hate keeps you safe, that's kind of like explaining like those people who want to burn down the world. And then there's like this band's name is Stick to Your Guns, so obviously like they're like, I'm going to say what I want to say and do it how I want to do it, and like I said, there are consequences to that. And then there's also like, then you're guilty for putting fire into this world, and you better hope that fire keeps us warm, right? Because then you're guilty of the same kind of thing, right? So yeah, that song, just like I said, kind of hit the hammer on that never-ending story trope. Like I said, like every song I'm saying in here, I'm using it because there's like so many hundreds of examples of like the never-ending story in movies and TV, same thing. So yeah, next one by them is called 360. Broken salvation, complete devastation, the blood on your hands to satisfy your fixation. Now you live with the weight of regret crushing your chest. You will never forget the life that you take. Forever you pay for your mistake. Oh, the hearts that you break. You took someone's mother. You took someone's father. You took someone's son. You took someone's daughter. Now dwell as you burn in your own personal hell. Broken salvation, complete devastation. The blood on your hands to satisfy the fixation. Mother, this eats me. It's so hard to reject the hate that this feeds me. Father, do you remember when your life changed forever? The day the life with your father was severed? Someone took someone dear to you, someone dear to me, someone who I'll never have the chance to meet. And all I can be is angry. And your selfishness astounds me. A horror that feeds off warmth surrounds me. I'm drowning. This has made a mess of me, and frankly, I have no more energy, so all I'll be is angry. Like this band, like Stick to Your Guns, like I said, like they shoot from the hip, right? Hip, Stick to Your Guns. They have a lot of anger, but your anger is supposed to be used in a way to get across your passion. And so, I mean, I just want to say that, and then point out like this line saying you took someone's mother, you took someone's father, you took someone's son, you took someone's daughter. And so, that's really taking shots at these people who are, taking away people's lives. And like I said, it doesn't, these are people's family, and to go after them and make them targets or victims or have a lifestyle where you're literally going out and doing this kind of thing is just disgusting. So if you got anger, it should be at those people. So, I commend him for this, and I guess I'll leave that at that. Over 3 hours, what are you gonna do? I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to find it. Let me just look real quick. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, but just to like shine a little bit, there's a hip hop group, Tribe Called Quest, and they have one song, basically with lyrics that was basically to the effect of, I'm trying to remember it. Um, there's one lyric that says, "The night is on my mind, but the sun's still shining." And then there's a different song, I think, where he's saying, "There's something that I do. It's got to do with lots of love, and it's not very nice. It's not very nice." Um, I forget which song that is, but you know, that's kind of basically saying like he's part of something that has to do with love and kind of keeping stuff together and protect stuff. And so at the same time, he's doing something that, you know, if you know the implications of what he's saying, like it's got to do with love and it's not very nice. You know, that's kind of like going to that whole thing where people are killing and all that kind of stuff, and that's a lot of stuff that hip hop goes with, and like they're a hip hop group that I really like, but like they definitely go into, they're a good example of like some of that kind of stuff and like the balance, and they don't do it like in a toxic way. You know what I mean? I wanted to bring them up real quick. Um, so on the topic of you know, just lyrics that kind of stand out to me, there's the LL Cool J song, "Mama Said Knock You Out," and once again, like I don't know what like you know he means by mama. You know, it could be like this matrix mother system. It could be the mother and the father mother dynamic of the family. It could be so many different things. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, so like I said, what comes back with like the second coming and the homecoming, they say come back. So I'm just gonna read through these pretty quick. I mean, that's the thing with hip hop is a lot. Like I don't know how these guys remember all the stuff they say. Um, but yeah, so don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm rocking my peers, putting suckers in fear, making the tears rain down like a monsoon. Listen to the bass go boom. Explosions overpowering over the competition. I'm towering. Wreck and chop when I drop. These lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Don't you dare stare, you better move. Don't ever compare me to the rest that all. You better move, don't ever compare me to the rest that'll all get sliced and diced. Competition's paying the price. Um, so yeah, just like literally in that one like paragraph of lines, you know, goes off to the callback, comeback thing, and then it's like the bass go boom, which is talking about like the low vibrations are just like the foundation. Then you know he says got lyrics that'll make you call the cops. Um, like once again, these are all my connotations. So, you know, when it says call the top cops, it could be like saying the truth in these lyrics, and you know, just saying enough to like raise eyebrows or whatever. And you know, like some people have the balls to do that. You know what I mean? And then he says the one line like "me to the rest that you all get sliced and diced." Yeah, don't compare me to the rest that are all getting sliced and diced. And that's like these people who are getting cut up physically, you know. And I have literally got cut up physically, as I said. Like you know, they'll freeze your body and then cut parts of your body off. That literally happened to me. I'm not saying that's happened to him, but it's a price that some people might pay. And so he's saying, don't compare me to like certain people that are having that happen to them. So you know, like I said, lots of kind of like dense kind of intended language that I might be taking however I take it, but so just thought I would read that part of it. And then I said, you know, like I said, you talk about music of the weapon kind of thing. I'm gonna knock you out, mama gonna knock you out, mama said knock you out. You know, that's definitely holding a stance with somebody, right? And you know, so I'll just leave that like that, right? Next band, Pink Floyd. I don't really listen to them, but as I said in like the last one, you got another brick in the wall, and that's like I said, like the wall is all these people who are then like keeping everybody, you know, like back to that metaphor of the fire, keeping people out. The wall also keeping people out, outsiders. unless, like, you know, they live by that type of way, and then they protect everyone inside the wall. So that's another brick in the wall, pretty self-explanatory example of it. So this other song from Pink Floyd, Outside the Wall. All alone or in twos, the ones who really love you walk up and down outside the wall, some hand in hand and some gathered together in bands. The bleeding hearts and the artists make their stand. And when they've given you their all, some stagger and fall. After all, it's not easy, banging your heart against some mad bugger's wall. Isn't this where we? So, you know, songs about people outside the wall has like a little nuanced of, you know, these people carry the most love and they weren't accepted because they have love, and they're, you know, not going to go with the way it is, and sometimes they're living on the outside, and it's okay, they live their lives, but they still know what people are doing and all that. So, you know, it goes to talking about people who have the most heart and stuff like that. So if you're on the outside, you're definitely living a harder life, knowing all the truths, but not having the protection, I guess you could say. Just my take on it. And then here's another one. Welcome to the machine. Welcome, my son. Welcome to the machine. Where have you been? It's all right. We know where you've been. You've been in the pipeline, filling in time, provided with toys and scouting for boys. You bought a guitar to punish your ma. You didn't like school. You know you're nobody's fool. So welcome to the machine. You dreamed of a big star. He played a mean guitar. He always ate in the steak bar. He loved to drive in his Jaguar. So welcome to the machine. So, you know, goes into a couple nuanced things, you know. There's like this, you know, you didn't like school. You know, like I said, this is just how I'm taking it, but considering the song's called Welcome to the Machine, I think they're talking about the machine and learning about the machine and the subliminal messages you get in that school and being taught how that goes. And yeah, so they'll leave it like that. But yeah, the one line I forgot. What did you dream? It's all right. We told you what to dream. And that goes into like what I said. And this is, you know, I don't remember when Pink Floyd, I think it was the 1970s, but, you know, like the technology and everything going on already was at the point where it's like I said, it sets people on their own path. It brings you into the machine if you are seeking it, or everyone comes to this. And that's pretty much how that goes. And so to know that it was like this in the 1970s and how much worse it's gotten, and like I said, how much we've gone away from that message of love, you know. So this is by a band Glassjaw, just kind of reiterating like the different things about Jesus, you know, and the Jesus ritual and that kind of thing. So this one's Trailer Park Jesus. Put the needle to the record and it hit me with your style. Soon enough, I'll learn to unload my mouth. Can you feel it's getting blacker? The vibe up in this place when I displaced what made me turn my face. Just trying to see if anything pops out. Tell the one about the man who dug holes so deep he lost sight of his word. So like I said, some people have a good connotation and look at somebody like Jesus, you know, following in their footsteps, retracing their steps. Some see him as the devil. Some see him like a fool. Some see that they have this purity so held up high that they lose their way and they lose their sight. So, I mean, like I said, like there's not just one different way within this stuff. And then coming on top of that, there's a song, Personal Jesus. I don't have who it's by, but you can search it pretty easy. But it sounds exactly like it is, you know. But I'll read some of the lyrics. Reach out and touch faith. your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares, your own personal Jesus, someone who to hear your prayers, someone who's there. Feeling unknown and you're all alone, flesh and bone by the telephone. Lift up to the receiver, I'll make you a believer. Take second best, put me to the test. Things on your chest, you need to confess, I will deliver. You know I'm a forgiver. Your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares, your own personal Jesus, someone to hear your prayers, someone who's there. So, I mean, it goes, like I said, back into the telephone thing, and like a reference back to like call 999 if you want the truth. And this is like still, you know, dealing with the telephone, the telepathic stuff. And like this is, you know, I don't know how that works. You know, I'm not an insider like that. I'm not, you know, I might be part of the hive mind or whatever, know it. But like this whole telephone thing, I'm gonna guess people can go call people, you know, in their head, get connected. You know, we live in the age of like the internet and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, it's definitely like a thing, like I said, like people know who these people are, and it's because there's this like hive mind going on. And so, you know, when people need some hope or a faith healer or something like that, something to keep them connected to the world and keep shining their light, you know, sadly, some of these people, you know, like I said, it's not like this is without like the negative connotation, like your own personal Jesus, yet you're not helping them. You're taking advantage of what they are and what they have to offer. And if they're being tortured, then there's that aspect. And I can't see who this is. Oh, Godflesh and Metal Band. So this one's called Christ Bait Rising Lyrics. Don't hold me back, this is my own hell. Don't hold me back, this is my own hell. Christ bait, slug bait, rise and bring you down. Christ bait, slug bait, rise and bring you down. Christ bait rising in your own mind. Christ bait rising, bleed dry mankind. Christ bait rising in your own mind. Christ bait rising, bleed dry mankind. So I mean, you know, I think those lyrics kind of speak for themselves. This kind of Christ bait, like it goes into, you know, the concept I said about fishing and whatnot. And so if you take this Christ bait and to try to take the high road and to believe in love and that you can heal people or take care of the poor, the hungry, the sick, all that, not believe in materialism, you know, to live a pure life and all that stuff, it's bait, because then these people who go hunt you, they'll find you, you know. And then also, like I said, it seems like this dog eat dog mentality, you know, it just kind of rips apart people like that. And like I said, when you have music talking about this kind of stuff, it kind of, you know, shines a light on like how evil it is and how you either get caught up in it or how you're hunted. And so once again, I'm just connecting this kind of thing to see the few lyrics. Like, you know, you could look up a bunch of lyrics about Jesus or about Mary or the Virgin or stuff like that, and you would find your way to see lyrics a lot talking about this kind of stuff in all different types of nuanced ways. And I talk about like the insiders and the dancing and how they do all this stuff to keep people safe and protect. So this is an 80s band, Men Without Hats, called The Safety Dance. We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind, because if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, well, they're no friends of mine. Say we can go where we want to, a place where they will never find, and we can act like we come from out of this world, leave the real one far behind. We can go when we want to, the night is young, and so am I, and we can dress real neat from our hats to our feet and surprise them with a victory cry. Say we can act if we want to, if we don't, nobody will, and you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile. So I mean, as I've talked about like all the nuances, I would think that some of this is starting to like make sense and all that. But I mean, so the safety dance, you dance to the beat, and the beat is the rhythm of the war drum, and you do that so you can stay safe if you're, part of this knowledge, whether you're an insider, an outsider, kind of roaming wherever you go, if you're lost or all that, and knowing all this information, generally speaking. And it goes back to that kind of dance thing. If you can't dance to the beat, you're not a friend of mine. I could say with my part, like, with my stance on that is like, you help everyone just because they can't dance. Like, you help them, you teach them how to dance. You teach them how to sing their song. We don't leave people behind. And then there's like, they're talking about you can act real rude and totally removed, and I can act like an imbecile. So, I mean, everyone's reference point for what is an imbecile, what is rude, is all based on what they're a part of or what they know. You know what I mean? So, I'm like new and young to these concepts, but I've been around them for years, and I've had these people torture me. So it's kind of like I've seen kind of everything going on. Seeing where we're at with this. This is band Larkin Poe. Song's called Bleach Blonde Bottle Blues. So there's just like one like paragraph that I kind of want to hit on in this song. Don't know if they're talking about the same thing, but like I said, a lot of musicians, like, they live this in this world and have this knowledge, this lifestyle. So, bleach blonde, bottle blues, baby's got a short fuse, boom bombshell, raising hell in white linen. She been everywhere, seen everything, saw it on the big screen. Y'all got nothing on that. So that thing, saw it on the big screen, it's kind of like this trope I've seen in other songs and other music where it's talking about like people are on the big screen. So whether that's like this metaphor where like people can see you either telepathic, losing my words, telepathic, there we go, telepathically, or seeing through their eyes or whatnot. Like I said, like, there's a metal band Through the Eyes of the Dead, but also I brought up that clear reference of seeing through a cat's eyes, and like how we brought that to humans, that sick technology. So it could be kind of like that thing, and that everyone's kind of looking at you, like that's the big movie, reference to like what I said earlier, like My Life is Your Movie, which is a name of a song from a band On Broken Wings. So I'm just trying to tie all those together. And so she's saying on the big screen, there's a lot of bands who like use artwork or whatever. It's all these people start sitting down in front of like a movie in a movie theater, and I've seen tons of bands doing that. But these are actually lyrics kind of hinting to that. So I don't know if that's what she was talking about, but I feel like it could be. And I've seen other lyrics talking about it. So I'm gonna figure like probably, but like I said. So this next song kind of goes into like, someone like me having perspective. It's like you don't want to get your all your knowledge or suggestion from like one song, right? And so like basically the song's called Everybody Knows, and you'll see once I read the lyrics kind of like obviously what it's talking about. But it's like, brings me to the question, does everyone know what I'm talking about? Does everyone know that people are getting microwaved or electrified or tortured, and all suicides and homicides and all misery in the world and these mass shootings are all linked to what this system does, Like I said, I can only speculate because of my situation. But, originally by Leonard Cohen, it's redone by Sigrid, which is a pop artist. So at least we got a couple pop songs in here. Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor. The rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows that the captain lied. Everybody got this broken feeling like their father or their dog just died. Everybody talking to their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates in a long stemmed rose. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that you love me, baby. Everybody knows that you really do. Everybody knows that you've been faithful. Give a night or two. Everybody knows you've been discreet, but there were so many people you just had to meet without your clothes. Everybody knows. So I just wanted to hit on a couple things about like being exposed and being yourself, and in this world with like the telepathic kind of stuff going on. When you think a lot or you're really loud in your thoughts and like you're connected to this hive mind, that's you talking, or that's you being naked or bare or without your clothes. And so there's like a lot of songs that talk about that and stuff in culture, and when people say they're going to strip you bare, it's like, or they're going to like rob you or whatever, they're trying to get you to that bare state, because when you're in that bare state, you're exposed, and then you think a lot, and if the government's watching you, as they are with me, then you get more torture, and then more people around you headhunting and torturing you more and keeping you in that cycle, and thus you can never, like I said, you can be your own worst enemy, but if there's a whole society of people looking to eat you up and torture you and turn you into a commodity on many layers and use you as a pet and a torture device. Yeah. So there's that. And, saying that the good guys lost, everybody knows the fight was fixed, the war is over. Basically saying, we live in a dark world and everybody knows it, but no one's talking about it. And when they keep pretending, everybody knows that the captain lied. There's what's that name of the band? Grand Funk Railroad. There you go. They have a song called "The Captain," and that's also another trope. It's like, people refer to me as that, and a lot of other stuff. And so like it's kind of like the captain goes down with their ship. It's kind of like that metaphor, but it's also like the captain leads, right? And the ship, and they say, SOS and save your ship and all that kind of stuff. So it's going on all those kind of things with that trope. There are other tropes in this song, and Grand Funk, they're examples of that. And everybody knows it's now or never. Everybody knows that it's me or you. And everyone knows that you live forever when you've done a line or two. Everybody knows the deal is rotten. Old Black Joe's still picking cotton for your ribbons and your bows, and everybody knows. Let's see. And everybody knows that you're in trouble. Everybody knows what you've been through, from the bloody cross on top of Calvary to the beach of Malibu. Everybody knows it's coming apart. Take one last look at the Sacred Heart before it blows. Everybody knows. So I think this song is just like amazingly heartbreaking and amazingly real. Once you've done a line or two, you live forever, meaning they keep killing you. And like I said, you can heal or regenerate, and with all these things, with like, the light inside you and the chakras and all that, with this technology, how they can always bring you back. And, talk about the $6 million man, we can bring them back to life. We can rebuild them, kind of thing. And with the digital human being, the hybrid human, that really is a reality. I don't know when that started, but $6 million man, that was a while back. So not to take away from this, but yeah, so you talk about what everybody knows and the harsh reality of the world that we hide. All the stuff in this song, I would say, does that. So thank God I've gotten to the end. It's only been about 4 hours, and I'm sure I've talked about a lot of nonsense. And of course, like, I didn't get into the flow of reading lyrics, but like for this, I just was just like, I got to get through it. So sorry I couldn't read like the Beatles lyrics with more passion and get into it until I started reading lyrics, because this is just a pile of lyrics. And like I said, the point of it was to put all these tropes that I put in the last part of my video series to life, and to show, yes, this isn't just like stuff that I'm reading into. It's like, this is humanity's story, this is society's story. And there's the good stuff, the bad stuff, the pure evil, ugly stuff. And then there's like the nuances of different sides and how people think, and how we're in this never-ending story, this endless war, and we're all fighting it, but we're also letting a lot of people die, and we're letting like these songs just be like the only remnants of what actually exists. And that's why I do what I want to do, and what the taboos that I choose to break are these ones, because we need to be actually taken out of our chains. We can't just be like, oh, we're free, or we're not being tested or put on trial. Everyone has to continue to fight for everyone. And I know once people get through this hell, they're like, I just want to live a simple life. And I haven't even got to that point, and I just want to do that. But I also want to save lives. And I know people have helped try to save my life, and then they say, oh, they just don't get it, they're blind. Or I want people to break that taboo so that people don't have to hide protecting people. At least, this hive mind will be brought to life. The evil business around it, whether it's the science or the technology, or these people, doing stuff for blood sport, and literally getting into these people's lives, and taking apart their psyche, their actual life, their lifestyle, making sure they don't have friends or family, taking their friends and family away from them. Like I said, that song was like, we took your mother, we took your father, we took your son, your daughter. These are people who, they have family, they have friends, and even if they don't, they have something to offer the world. Everybody does belong. And so I want to say that, and just say, like, these songs, what they really mean, the true meaning behind them, is saying in the true world we live in. And we need to shine a light on that. And we need to make this reality known, so that we can live in a better one. So I know that was nearly 4 hours, and not everyone's going to see it. Maybe they'll just kind of go through stuff. Like I said, a lot of people know this, but it's like, take a stand, fight against the evil stuff, make it so that people that are fighting, we don't get 100,000 people killing people, or suicide, or millions upon millions kind of like hiding in the shadows to save other people who are hiding in the shadows. And like I said, if you make these songs known and know what your lyrics are and say the truth, you'd be like, yeah, there is another part to it with the subliminal stuff, and this hive mind does exist. There are insiders and outsiders. There are different trends and things going on, and people always having to swim to save their life and stuff. So without really ranting, just kind of want to hit on all that kind of stuff. So love and life forever as usual. Take care.